Hello, everybody's, and welcome to Soulspeak. This is our first episode, and I guess, we'll start off this way. Let's instead, this time around, start off with me saying, hey, thank you to everyone who joined me for this first episode, and yes, we'll go with why it's important we have these before we let you all do your intros. So, everyone in chat, everyone here, once again, now with my microphone unmuted, I would like to say that I feel it's very important we have these sorts of discussions because if we're going to survive, if we're going to thrive as a society, we need to be able to communicate with each other, whether our ideas align or not. We need to be willing to learn, keep an open heart, an open mind, so we can make a better future for ourselves and for our children. All that cliche, fun stuff. But seriously, like I said before, it was around 2015 I kind of started realizing that shit was really coming to a head in terms of people not being able to talk to each other. And that shit is both sad and terrifying. If we can't talk, all we're left with is either screaming matches, completely ignoring each other, or worse, violence. And I would hate to see this beautiful planet and our beautiful species/race come to that. So yeah, this is why we're here. A big reason of why I started getting into Twitch is to do shit like this. I love gaming, I love building relationships, and all the other awesome things that come with it. But I personally feel it's up to each and every one of us to strive to create a better path for ourselves and our brothers and sisters across the globe. And having open discussions is one way we can do that. A very important one. So, without further ado, let's start with introductions. We'll go from the top left to the right, and then down left to the right. So that would be... Do you know?
Crash.
It is me. Okay,
That is
it's
Crash.
confusing because on Discord I'm on the bottom right.
Oh, my bad.
Here, it's
Okay,
different.
let's start with
So-
CrashedStarling.
Hello, I'm CrashedStarling. I am raised Catholic. I live
1 second, we got a sound effect. My bad. I forgot to turn sound effects off. I'm sorry, Crash. I did it.
Did I call it or did I call it?
Bookworm,
You called
welcome.
You called Freddy.
Everybody, welcome. I won't be checking chat every second because we do have a lot to get through. So we will get to chat though. I appreciate the support, the host, everything. But we are doing introductions now, so please start once more, CrashedStarling.
Bookworm just really didn't want to hear me talk, and that's fair. Hi, I'm Craftstarling. I was raised between Catholicism and Christianity. I'm mostly a centralist, but I'm more left-leaning, and I am living in the smack dab middle of the US of A. So there is a lot of, I'd say, religious pressure around here. And that's pretty much it.
That's true. One thing I forgot to mention, I did ask before the show started that everybody, when they're introducing themselves, aside from their name, they state their affiliations if they're willing to do so, whether it's political, religious, philosophical, stuff like that. And maybe any single event briefly which strongly impacted their viewpoints or experience with the world around them. So that's why CrashedStarling went into that, which I much appreciate. Thank you for that, sir. Next we have Team Freddy.
Yeah, hello there. I'm Team Freddy. I was raised Catholic. My dad came from a very strict Catholic family. But now I wouldn't even say that I'm religious. I mean, I do believe there is a God, but I don't really believe in the practice of religion. And then I also was born and raised in Kentucky, so I come from very conservative parents, but I am very hardcore liberal. So there's that.
Thank you, sir. And then we got Deadlift for Chips.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, just checking. So, Deadlift for Chips. I'm from New York. Some of you already know that. I don't believe in political or religion-based affiliations whatsoever. But if I was to put a title on it, I would say progressive, and I would say I believe in the path of Buddha. And that's a whole other discussion we may talk about later. I was raised in a Christian family, and funny story, actually, just a really quick story. I hate church so much. I begged my father if I was to read some scripture, basically some scriptures, that I would no longer have to go to the church. Took me 2 weeks, and I recited probably over 100 scriptures. I memorized them and everything because of how much I hate church. But anyways, there's also that. And as far as experiences that change me, as far as who I am, too many. Too many to name. Just growing the fuck up. That's the first one.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Deadlift.
Of course.
McTravDad.
Hello. I'm McTravDad. I am a variety streamer on Twitch who's been into League of Legends and Minecraft a lot lately. Although I do like to play other things in between those right now. I'm starting up a Patreon currently. I haven't got a video out yet, but I launched that yesterday, I believe. Days are kind of running together right now with how much I'm working on that. Planning on being like educational design videos and stuff on there. Game design videos, I'm sorry. Just general design. So my affiliations would run along the lines of independent with the political spectrum. Like every test I've ever taken said I'm right in between Republican, Democrat. So I go either way just depending on the circumstance and the situation. As far as religious, I would say that I am a Christian, although I kind of agree on the whole label thing. Like that label kind of brings a whole lot of negative stances and stuff. So more Christ follower than anything. So I think that's me.
Thank you very much, McTravDad. Shiny Shoes, you are up next, sir.
Hey y'all, I'm Shiny Shoes, and I am here because I like to talk about fun things. When it comes to religious beliefs, I've probably moved towards atheist. I was raised very strict Baptist, and then into non-denominational is what our family kind of moved into. Then I personally moved to atheist myself, and then for political, I'm probably moving more towards liberal than anything else. If you were going to label it, I believe that a lot of what we do, the government should have a lot less say in what is and isn't legal. We should let people do what they want. So that's on me.
Shiny Shoes, thank you very much for that. For anyone wondering, I'm Slurpaglurp. You probably don't know who I am, but I'm very... Alright, I won't get into all that right now. Me being jacked and tan and all. You already know that. What I will say is that I do identify as a minarchist. I guess you could say a libertarian with anarcho-capitalist leanings. I don't think we're quite there yet, though, but that's a discussion for another day. As far as more spiritual beliefs go, I am a polytheistic Thelemite. People will pronounce that last word different ways. Whatever, alright? Don't judge me. So, yeah, I'm all about individual liberty, whether it's looking at it from a perspective of politics or religion. I do believe, in essence, that we are all on our own journeys to becoming godlike or gods. So yeah, that kind of shapes my views. Alright, so I think we got all the introductions out of the way. In chat, feel free to share your affiliations and views and well, not all your views, let's try to keep it to the subject matter, but your religion, your political affiliation, something like that, if you care to share. That's always fun.
Wheels.
So, for those of you just getting here, our first topic for tonight, and this is what I kind of covered in our introduction, is the importance, benefits, and pitfalls of discussing politics and religion. I'll do a brief recap of my thoughts and feelings on that, and we'll go around and get everyone's. So, basically, you often hear, or I often hear anyway, people say, don't talk religion and politics at the dinner table. People say, I hate talking about politics, or I don't feel I could change any of it anyway, so what the fuck is the point? And I think that's fucking scary. As I said in the intro, it's both sad and scary. We make all this shit. Like, we are the creators of, maybe not God, maybe not of like any huge abstract idea, but we make the political parties, we make the religious institutions which pay homage to those gods. So it's really important for us, I believe, to be accountable for that, to sort of let people know where we come from and be willing to talk about it, be willing to listen to other people and where they come from as well. There's so much infighting going on, so much polarization, and the more it happens, the more you see people like shutting themselves out of everything. And that, as I mentioned before, from what I've seen, only leads to, like I said, shutting yourself out or getting violent, or just being counterproductive in general. So I think it's really important we do have a continuous dialogue about this stuff. So to share a bit of personal experience and maybe get the ball rolling a bit, I'll never forget, there was a day, I want to say it was in 2017-ish, tensions are high now, but I'd say right around when Trump got elected, shit was like really hitting the fan. I got called a libtard and a Nazi in the same 4-hour period. In the same 4 I can't. I don't even remember what was said to each of these individual people. I'm kind of with shiny shoes in the sense where, socially speaking, I'm very liberal. But as far as government goes, I am pretty adamantly get the fuck out of my way. I feel like they're very overbearing, and in terms of efficiency and corruption, or inefficiency and corruption, they take the fucking cake. And the problem I see a lot is that people sort of combine the idea of government intervention with cherishing people's freedoms, especially in the case of minorities. And if you ever speak out against government getting political, then all of a sudden you hate everybody. You hate poor people, you hate people trying to immigrate, and so on and so forth. So the point being, why I'm mentioning this, is that I think a big issue with people not wanting to talk about politics and religion is that they often conflate some ideas with others that aren't really relevant. So that's my take. And I guess who would like to go next? I don't really have an order picked out. Anyone want to jump in? Or else
I'll shoot you real quick.
That works.
The funny thing about people's opinions with politics and religion is that everybody's scared of getting fired. that's really no, seriously. It goes into the cancel culture thing, which when it comes up, I'll talk about that too. But a lot of people thought this way before. You didn't have the same repercussions you used to have. You used to be able to be an asshole when you want, say bigotry things whenever you wanted, be racist, anything really negative, and have no repercussions. And with places like Twitter and other forms of social media, you can't get away with calling somebody anything derogatory anymore. So I mean, that's part of it. People still are pieces of shit, like flat out, there's trash people, but people are more likely to go if it involves their job or career.
This is true.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it, when it comes down to like that political piece and everything like that, you think about it, like, not a lot of people understand that just because someone else has a different opinion than you do, that they think that means they hate you, or they don't see anything saying. That's not true. There are so many people that have a very different opinion. I mean, like, personally, our president right now, I could not have chosen a worse person in my eyes to put in there. And everybody's always like, oh, he's great, he's getting rid of this, getting rid of this, getting rid of this. When you run your campaign, and this is just how I see it, this is just someone watching a campaign, you run a campaign based upon hate, and you get a large amount of the country to be like, all right, let's do that. That to me is a big part of why it's hard for me to believe in politics as a way. And a lot of times these people that are like that, they will fall into I'm in this party and my beliefs are this. I believe because I believe in this God, therefore everything I'm going to rule is going to be best for you. And then we come and we get all these laws and crazy stuff going on in the country, and that just creates the divide bigger, because why are we making laws based on a religion that, and this, I mean, probably isn't real? Like, that's just me.
Do you feel we have made a lot of laws based on a religion? I mean, or are you saying one is even too many?
I think one is even too many. So here's my thing. I legitimately don't care if you believe something, but when you change the way that I have to live my life because you believe something, that's utter nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. So that I feel that's a big pitfall. So even with like the what was it, Kentucky right now, where one of the states down south, the governor's like, hey, we're going to read the Bible in school. Okay, but you're not reading other books, you're not giving them other choices, and also why are we teaching that? Is that something that a student can use to better their life? Probably not.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, for me, we touched on a bunch of different things, but like, for what I've experienced is that there's two things that are like an overarching, way too many, I don't want to say like, there's way too many experiences going into what's happening, but I think it falls into a category of there's not enough personal growth going on for rising generations and past generations. So what they're doing is compensating it by feeling more developed in a social setting. So that whenever you're like, I am, and when you're like an extreme leftist, that doesn't you're not thinking you're more of like, the leftist is me and I'm the leftist. Like, I'm central. The reason I'm centralist is because I like to watch the different things. So if someone from the far right or the far left, you know, they're very extreme in a lot of what they say, and a lot of people will follow that. So it becomes like the group takes over the individual. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's just what I see.
And I get what you're saying. Like, that group will just grab people in. This has kind of been my experience with it. So, grew up hella poor. Like, we had nothing. We had nothing. Me and I have three brothers, one that's still really around. We both grew up and we're adults now, and like, I'm friends with him on Facebook. We're brothers. I mean, I love the guy, but like, he's always posting stuff like, you know, if they're living on welfare, maybe they need to get out of the country. Crazy things like that. And I literally think to myself, I'm like, dude, when we were growing up, if that wasn't there, we probably didn't eat. So, like, I see that maybe you changed and you're part of that group now, but you need. I want people to think, like, what they're saying. What are you doing? Is your brand of politics actually right for you? And you don't know. That's the crazy stuff you see, though, and that's the kind of stuff that gets people fighting. Because, I mean, I have plenty of friends that maybe they have a kid or something, and they just can't make ends meet, and they need that. I'm not there to. Okay, great. Let's give them that money they need. But for us to tell them, like, hey, you know, you suck because you're taking this, that's crazy to me. That's insane.
Shiny Shoes, I want to interject real quick, then give Team Freddy or McTravDad a chance to speak.
Sorry.
I think you alluded to something really important that I saw Big Blue D in the chat, and he always says this at the end of his streams, and it's the golden rule. Treat others as you want them to as you want to be treated. And a lot of people, like you were pretty much mentioning in your story, like, people often forget that, and I think that often people don't want to discuss politics and religion because then they have to come to terms with that fact in a way, because that shit not only affects yourself but everybody else. So it's kind of a weird, there's some mental gymnastics going on there, but I won't delve too much into that right this second. McTravDad or Team Freddy, would either of you like to comment on this stuff?
Well, I mean, my personal experience with it is I think I've grown up just not really wanting to talk about politics or religion because I knew that I was always like the opposite of my parents. Like I grew up in a very conservative household and I didn't agree with anything that they were associated with, especially, you know, around the time that I started realizing that I was gay. Then I kind of started looking more into politics to see the stance of the different parties. And once I realized that there was a clear stance for most Republicans against, you know, members of the LGBT community. So obviously, you know, that's when I decided to be a Democrat, but it was just hard to talk about it with my parents because my dad's a very passionate person and he's very, very into politics. I didn't really even start getting into politics until it was around the time that, you know, Trump was going up against Hillary, because I honestly did not think he would ever win. I was like, okay, people cannot be voting for him. This is a joke, right? But then come to find out my parents voted for him, so.
Oh my God.
So that caused some issues.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. And it's just, we're so impassioned with the way we feel, I think, in this day and age, especially with what's going on in the world, because it's like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that my parents voted for Trump because I thought they were smarter than that. And it's like, when does it come to a point where, I mean, it's hard to open up people's eyes if they've been raised that way for such a long time and if they always think that they're right. Yeah. So it's just, it's difficult. It's difficult.
So you basically saying you feel like, I guess, maybe not on a subconscious level, but because of your background, you're reluctant to bring it up in general to other people. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like you never know who actually might be very impassioned about, you know, politics and their political stance, and they have like all this evidence basically ready and waiting for an argument to happen. And then so that's why I just choose not to bring it up, because I know myself and I know I'm not as into politics here lately as I probably should be. It's just because it's gone beyond the point of I cannot stand our president, and I don't even want to like hear nothing that has to do with him. So it's like I've kind of avoided it for a while because it's gotten to that point where it's just like I have like so much animosity and hate towards the political system right now.
I think the worst part about, even if you have like strong views, or your parents or anyone around you have strong views, even if you try to debate them and change their mind, like they get so steadfast in that one thought of like you can't do anything. You just feel completely trapped in your own thoughts. You're like, well, I'll find someone else to share this with.
I hear that.
Yeah.
McTravDad?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with CrashedStarling on the whole centralist idea. Like, either side seems very, very extreme. Like, you have to believe this and this and this and this in order to be this particular affiliation. I don't really like that system just because that kind of takes away the humanity in it, in my opinion, just because you can really believe what you want from this side and what you want from this side, and as such, I'm very much in the middle. As for Team Freddy's point, I would like to point out, I understand that as an LGBTQ member, he may have those kinds of issues because Trump's had kind of a war against him, and he might harbor those feelings very much more so than a straight person such as I. I mean, I still don't like that he is setting up this war against the LGBT community, but I'm also not in a point where I am able to actively challenge it because I am not in the LGBT community, you know? So along that line, I feel like a lot of people actually have that hatred just because of things they've heard rather than things they've looked up, rather than things they've done research on. For example, the kids in cages thing, it's my biggest personal point, but honestly, I have no idea how much Trump has to do with that himself. I know he set all these immigration policies and stuff, but I'm not really sure exactly how much of it he's seen, how much of it he knows, or whether or not he even knows that like 7 children have died in federal custody as a result of being locked in these cages without having their parents with them.
Oh shit.
I mean, yeah.
You guys mind if I expand on that? If you don't mind, McTravDad, when you're done.
Oh yeah, I think that was my point. So.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the interesting thing about, because I could talk all day about every single thing that's wrong with Trump. It's easy. He's like the cartoon. He's like the real life version of the Joker, but he's an actual president.
Yeah.
And he fucks up shit. He talks shit. Who was it? A couple days ago, he had a big screen thing about him, literally saying the reason why Biden is going to be, if he was chosen as president or the vice president, the reason why he did a good job was because he kissed Barack Obama's ass. And I was watching it, and I had never laughed almost intentionally about a president saying something retarded, because I couldn't believe that shit was real. So I rewinded it a couple of times, and I'm like, did he really just say that? For me, it's not really about the words per se, it's the system. So let's just be honest. Donald Trump is not intelligent enough, realistically, to document most of the laws. He's the only president I think we've had in probably 40 years that has no actual political experience.
I think that's a good point. Agreed.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And with especially the immigrations law, I mean, when Obama was president, when Bush was president, after 9/11, there's laws in place that nobody talks about that are specifically geared towards certain minorities, and you guys can kind of figure it out from there. I don't really want to go too much in detail about that, but that's been going on for well over the last 18 years. Every president has had different versions of this law. Trump's making it a public thing. I'm not saying he's any worse or any better. All I'm saying is that's something that unfortunately, like, the country's been kind of pulling over from the presidency, from the fear from security, like national security. Everyone's been kind of pushing that idea. So there's been monitoring of minorities well before that, but specific centric FBI, CIA, like, laws in place where they're watching minorities and making sure they're in certain places, around certain people, and only able to act in certain situations. Unfortunately, the immigration law, the main thing I'm concerned about was the children, but I've been to Mexico in the last 2 years since Trump's been president, and I can tell you guys, you do not want to say anything positive about Donald Trump in Mexico. That's the worst place. Never do it. And again, I don't care about anybody's political affiliation. I'm just telling you, I actually watched a man get stomped out by 10 people.
Holy shit.
And he was just joking. He said, oh shit, I'm just going to go. I'm like, they got British flags and Canadian flags over here, and they're specifically saying fuck the US. I don't think you should do that. He's like, oh, I'm going to go do okay.
Can I go with a colonial flag, though?
Oh boy.
So circle stars.
Oh boy.
But no, I understand what you're saying, McTravDad. What I was just kind of expanding on that point with is it's a disturbing downside of the country. Like, what's funny? If Hillary was to be president, we would deal with this in a similar way. Not publicly, not outright. It would be the same thing, but in a different light. You wouldn't be seeing cameras showing these things. The laws wouldn't be as out in the open either, and you wouldn't see children in these cages. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you. There's no way in hell that would happen.
So do you think Trump's the lesser of the two evils?
There is none.
There really is
none. There is just in this case, I just can't defend any of the shit he's publicly doing. All I'm saying is that it's unfortunately like a legacy thing with this country and who we end up voting as president. They all kind of follow the same rules. They listen to what the Electoral College is telling them and what Congress tells them, and the cycle continues. That's why it's always extreme progressive, extreme conservative, and if you try to do the middle ground like a centrist, you're pretty much like, you can try it, because I'm actually, even though I don't like the title, I'm kind of like that, but at the same time, it's like once you try to say a middle ground, it's still kind of like nothing ever gets fucking done, unfortunately, because you got to get
exactly.
It sucks.
I'd like to say a few things. And mind you guys, I don't mind if you guys want to speak on specific people and policies. That's fine to an extent. If it's not okay, I'll let you know. But I'm gonna try to focus this more so on the subject matter at hand, because I think something McTravDad said is very interesting and very important. Now, McTravDad, you mentioned that you didn't feel you could fight for an LGBTQ cause because you are not part of that community. And that's, before I harp on this subject alone, I want you guys to know I've observed this with many different people in terms of many different demographics. McTravDad's not alone in this. Hell, I'm not even alone in it all the time. But I do want to say, we don't have to be, as individuals, part of any single demographic to speak out for them or against something that may be doing harm to them. Like, for instance, there's allies, which are considered by the LGBTQ community to be helping them in their pursuit of liberties, freedom, what have you. Now, here's the thing, and what we're going to get into a little later in the show, we have those things like cancel culture, outrage culture. You have people who are constantly saying things like, oh, well, it's not your experience, so your opinion, your voice, your thoughts on the matter don't matter at all. And that's another thing that pushes people away from talking about politics and religion. It's a valid gripe. And don't get me wrong, and also I don't want to delve too much into this right this second. I completely accept and understand the fact that as individuals, we will never experience the life of another individual. But we are human beings. As I think McTravDad also mentioned the human element, or was that CrashedStarling? Someone mentioned, like, when we focus too much on a party or a political figurehead, we lose sight of the humanity within it all.
Right, precisely.
Okay.
That was something I said.
Like you said. So that tying into this by saying, like, we are completely capable of compassion, of empathy, of learning, of reason, and a huge part of that is keeping these open dialogues. I mean, we just pretty much went around the room bashing different policies and people, and I mean, we're all still being pretty cordial. Granted, there might be some storms brewing in some of you I don't know about yet, but I'm saying this is a fucking beautiful thing, and I think we do need to keep in mind that regardless of maybe a few people here and there in one demographic telling someone from another, hey, you can't say this, you can't do that, please don't let that discourage you from keeping that open heart and mind and dialogue. Okay, so if you guys would like to continue, anything to add to that? Or anything else that was said?
No, that's good. I think that a lot that plays into it is what you were talking about. When people tell people that their opinions are wrong, that isn't successfully like getting your point across or anything like that. When you tell someone they're wrong, you're no longer at the point where you're going to win them over to your side. You've just made it, I'm right, you're wrong, and then it's just that kind of argument. So what I always try to do when we're having like conversations and stuff like that, we'll talk about, hey, what is your opinion? This is my opinion. You gotta listen and hear that person out. Even if you're in your head thinking this person is batty, this is crazy, just hear them out. And that's the biggest problem we have with a lot of this political landscape right now. So people say, hey, you're on this side. And I'll say, well, I would prefer that person didn't win the presidency. And they're like, oh, well, you automatically like this person. And I'm like, well, no, I didn't say that either. I'm just telling you that I maybe neither of them are the candidate that I would have chosen. But there's a lot into it. And like when you guys were talking, it brought me down to it, and we talked about talking politics. I think it's important that we talk politics more because there is some shady shit happening in our political landscape. Like, if you just watch all the crazy stuff happening, you're like, how is this how we determine how we rule our country? How is this anyway? Does it make sense in any way? So I think it's important we talk more about that politics and maybe less about, hey, what is your political affiliation, and more so what's actually happening in politics. So
that, I hear that, but I do think it is important to kind of get a base of someone's ideologies before heading into that landscape. Because I mean, like you said, there's a lot of sketchy shit going on. We could point fingers and call out all this awful shit all day, but it's important, but it's not all encompassing. But I see what you're saying, and I do appreciate that. Okay. Anybody else? Nope. We do have.
I do want to point out that I wasn't saying that I wouldn't fight for the LGBT community, but moreover that it's harder to, as I'm not part of it.
Gotcha.
Like as you were saying, it's just hard to without like you're not bad experience. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
Stab stream. Oh, I try not to talk to chat. I got a host. My bad. Thank you, Stab stream. I cheated. Here,
I have one
here's
thing
the,
actually
if,
that's topical that we can do.
Well, real quick on what McTravDad said, so, and for everyone in chat who might be dealing with this, maybe you want to help someone or an entire community and you don't know how, maybe you want to get involved with something, ask questions. Ask those people questions. Yeah. Ask people fighting, how can I help? What can I do? If it's something you feel that you're able and willing to accomplish. Which I think everybody should be fighting for everybody. For. Not against, but for. Okay, that's it. Crash. Or...
Okay. I was about to say, we could definitely talk, but if we're talking about politics, they don't have to all be U.S. politics. We could talk about what's currently happening in Hong Kong right now. And then another stance of, since we're all video game enthusiasts...
Crash, stop, dude. You want to get... Can someone ban Crash? Can we get him off camera? Look, China, I love what you're doing. I know you're just doing it for your people. Please send me more of that money, thank yous.
I saw
his donation page is right below. Just scroll down.
I can't pull up Crash Twitch anymore. I don't get it. It's gone. This is weird.
We went in the Fortnite black hole. No, Crash, if you want
to on Overwatch.
If you'd like to bring up Hong Kong, that's cool. If you can, try to keep it to the topic at hand. Oh, McTravDad! Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
No. I kind of see what you said. That's a whole big block of nonsense going on over there right now. With the like join the LGBT community and everything as that. Like, I feel like there are plenty of things you could do. Like the lady I work with probably was one of my best friends, and she's got a different job now. But it was great working with her, and she was lesbian, and that I didn't even know that until about 3 months in, and she told me, she's like, I was really scared to tell you because I didn't know what to think, and I was just thinking, I was like, oh, okay, I don't care, like, cool. But it made sense to me, like, now, because a lot of like her political stance and everything, they all started to make sense. And I know at that fact, so Chick-fil-A kind of got a stance against. And I know that everybody I work with, they're always like, hey, you know, we're going to go there for Thursday lunch. And that's where they always wanted to go. Like, and she never wanted to go, and I never knew why. And to this day, like, since then, I haven't gone to a Chick-fil-A. And I understand, like, hey, if someone that is important to me, someone I care about, you are going to be actively against. Like, I don't have to support you. I can support them by not supporting you. So, still to this day, like, we don't go, and on Thursdays, like, hey, you want to go Chick-fil-A? I'm like, no, we're going to go to, like, McAllister's or Qdoba. Let's go there. That's where we're going to go and eat.
BDS is valid.
So, little things can help as well.
I agree.
Actually, that's another thing, though. I don't feel like by Chick-fil-A saying they don't believe that LGBTQ is the right direction to take. It is saying they are directly against it, you know?
Here's the issue with that. I tried doing a lot of research. And some sketchy things are going on with their paper trail. From what I read, and I can't prove this 100% from the research I've done, but I believe there's a good chance they may have been siphoning money into Pray the Gay Away camps and even things like...
They are.
They donate to anti-LGBT charities, basically.
Like, they're more
like, they
than talk.
donated to, like, when Prop 8 was a thing in California, Chick-fil-A donated to that
cause.
Like, that cause.
Well, thank you for letting me know. I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why a lot of LGBT people will not go to Chick-fil-A, because we don't want our money going towards anti-LGBT organizations.
That definitely makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Here. Thank you.
And then also, I just want to bring up real quick that also the Bang CEO donates to the Trump re-election fund, and he's a big Trump supporter. So for any of these that drink Bang should be aware of that.
I thought you said
Yes.
Bing. I'm like, no one uses
No,
that
Bang,
shit anyway.
Bang, Bang the
No one
energy
uses
drink.
that.
The energy drink.
Trump's
And I
new
was so-
make Bing great again.
No, I was
yeah.
going around educating people at TwitchCon, because there was a Bang booth at TwitchCon, and I was like, oh hell no. I
Oh,
was like,
wow. Oh wow.
I lived on Red Bulls that weekend. They were giving them out for free, and I just kept putting them in
Yeah.
my bag.
Oh my god. Crash, I didn't mean to like snuff out the flame you had with Hong Kong. Is there like a specific
Yeah, go for it.
I don't want to spend like an hour talking about Hong Kong.
Oh no, I
but,
understood.
you already said it?
No, I said I understood.
Oh,
that
okay.
It was a whole thing. I looked at the time. Was like, oh yeah, we don't have time for that. I understand.
Paladins is fun.
Let me. Alright, guys, I said initially we were gonna scroll through chat after we covered subject 2, which is like cancel culture, outrage culture. Are you all cool with me going through chat real quick now? Not,
Oh yeah, you're good.
Absolutely.
Sure.
not reading every single comment
We
though,
know you
guys.
want-
I was
Sorry.
kind
We know
of
you want
to.
to.
You would between each
Yeah, don't read every
topic.
comment, please.
If
I've
you have
got-
something I skip, please feel free to ask again in the comment section. Because I'm
got
only.
good news. This is your podcast, so you know whatever you
That's fair. I like.
want to do.
Look,
We're there for it.
I am a fan of democracy to an extent. It's I know was it I can't find anything. You know what? Guys, while I switch this over, if you have a question or comment, please type it now. I can't even there's so much going on in chat. I got to get better at this. I'm going to switch the topic title. While I do that, please feel free to ask and I will get to it immediately. But guys, awesome shit. I very much am enjoying myself thus far. I think we're learning something.
And see, I would like to go ahead and point out that during debates like this, like we can have these kinds of discussions and like actually learn something from it. For example, where
Yeah.
I just learned about Chick-fil-A,
About Chick-fil-A, yeah.
and those kinds of things. Like I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
So
I got people
I-
at my job that are so obsessed with Chick-fil-A that they hide it from everybody that is gay or any different sexual orientation, and it's so creepy. Like Chick-fil-A is not that good.
Right, I know. Hello,
Hey,
Popeyes. Popeyes.
Popeye's chicken sandwich
Popeyes
is
is the best. Oh my god, I
actually,
love
I have a
Popeyes so
Popeyes
much.
really around me. Like an hour and a half, 2 hours north of me is the nearest one. So
that chicken sandwich
There's
worth
some
it, man. I'm
Popeyes
telling you.
The
Those things
only
got
thing
the
that I
sauce.
find good at Chick-fil-A is I have to admit, I like their, but I have
You
to
like
do
their
without them. Their waffle fries.
oh, they're so good.
Chick-fil-A.
That's the thing I hated at Chick-fil-A.
But now I just eat at Popeyes.
Damn, waffle
Really? That's
fries.
what you hate?
Okay,
Yeah.
I have so many things I want to ask, but I don't know if it will come out wrong. Caffeinated Zombie, I know you to be a very good-hearted lady. I mean, try your best. I'll try to level with you as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Slurp needs a chat assistant. That is true, Wolverine. Hello, sirs. Will you be my chat assistant? Don't ban Slurp Alert. McTravDad, you don't do
I
that.
did what I want.
You, wait, just boo, you can't ban me neithers. Nah, they aren't pro-family
Yeah, Just
if
Boo is
they
trolling,
don't
yeah.
support LGBTQ families. That's what's up. Oh, wait, Just Boo has a paragraph here. Just Boo
Yeah, that-
says, my cousin came out to me when we were in high school. He said he was so afraid because we lived in the ghetto and that whole alpha male mentality was spreading like AIDS. So he told me he was gay. I looked at him and said, okay, explains why he throw like a girl. Oh, true. We laughed I told him, if you like pussy or penis, you're blood either way. I don't care what you do. You're still family. Go get your nuts off, however your boat floats. That's awesome, Just
Yeah.
Boo. And
So-
I do, guys, I get that kind of humor, the throw like a girl humor.
Mhm.
Not acceptable everywhere, and we're going to dive into that shit with cancel and outrage culture.
Sure.
But look, keep in mind, this is Just Boo's family member. I mean, I won't.
Yeah, that is very, very close relationship that can be actively bantered.
That's a thing. What else we got? You're missing out on good chicken. Ogre of Doom, that's fair. I won't deny Chick-fil-A has some good chicken, but until they could prove to me they're not putting their money into the pockets of awful people doing awful things, good chicken or not, I'll make my own damn chicken. That's just me.
Yeah, like I said, definitely gotta look into that.
I thought you said you'd kick your grandmother for a fat chick. I did say that, Custard Nuts. But to be fair, my grandmother is...
I didn't drop my wine.
To be fair, if my grandma meets that criteria, could we then kill two birds with one stone? I'm just throwing it out there. It's a suggestion. Not saying it'll happen. Okay, I think we're pretty much caught up. All right. Smitty, welcome.
Any other questions?
Anybody's, because we're moving on. We'll have another chat break towards the end. So, okay, cancel culture, outrage and call-out culture. Before I let Deadlift take this away, he mentioned he wanted to dive into this, and I'm inclined to let him. Outrage and call-out culture, don't do that. I think they're the same thing. I did a Google search and a little bit of extra research. I think they're the same. If anyone has...
I think I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same.
Fair enough. All right, so Deadlift, please take it away.
Okay. So the funniest thing about, I would say, call out or cancel culture, which honestly I think they're all really the same thing. It's pretty much a group of people, whether it be minorities, whether it be the majority or any ethnicity, background, race, sex, creed, or color, whatever it is, saying we see something negative, we see something that we feel is either racist or discriminatory, so we're going to talk about it. Now, this thing, it has its pluses and its minuses. The big thing is it's gotten a lot of people from unfortunate people in the industry that are pedophiles and in politics as well, to, women's rights getting the next mile up. You guys have all seen it as prolific figures that have all either been arrested, gone to jail, or gotten away with it. People in the actual Hollywood industry and stuff like that too. But cancel culture, I would say, is helpful in the sense where people that, let's say you had a teacher, and whether you were gay, black like myself, I know Shiny said, I didn't even know you were different ethnicity, man. But, if your teacher said, because, you came from, another island from another country, they're like, you had to swim across to get here, so there's no way you're going to actually mean anything of yourself. Well, in the 90s, somebody said that shit. Nothing would happen. You just have to tell your mom and you'd cry about it and that's it. Jesus. Today that happens, you're either losing your job or you're getting suspended. And it just got to a point now where I would say there's been extreme miles ahead of it where it's great. But then there's the downsides where I could say something in a whole 2 hour, like if you do this podcast, somebody could take part of what I said and like one part of what I said and then take the whole picture of my statement and take it completely out of context to something else. Yep. And that's the problem. And people know that. Part of it is short attention spans because of social media and how everybody gets, the new thing now. Everything is kind of gratuitous. It's 1 second, here's this video, here's this footage, here is the next big thing. Everybody kind of gets the next big thing media-wise and how they go about their everyday lives in their face due to social media. But that's just pretty much how I want to start it off. As far as how it affects people, just like we're all streamers. I'm sure we've all had times where we were going to make a joke, and you had to kind of be like, this is a little, it's a little too much.
Of course.
Somebody came in your chat and said it for you. You felt bad because it was fun, but you had to ban them for a second because it's, you don't do that type of shit. I would say it does affect how I'm going to say certain things. I've had to filter myself a lot. I'm a lot more vulgar and a lot more inappropriate off stream. So my stream persona is much different than how I am off stream. So it's humbling. Like you learn that you also do need to filter yourself in professional environments. But content creation also has become a little different over time too. There's certain things you can or cannot say. You're filtered a lot. What is it on YouTube now? You can't even curse. Like if you curse and you're a partner, you get monetized. It's little small things like that. And I'm sure you guys can kind of expand on these ideas, but that's how I'm going to start it off.
Thank you, Deadlift. I would like to say before we get into the mix, for those that don't know, and I'm already forgetting the definitions as I'm starting the sentence, from what I saw, like, the first lines of Google, cancel culture, very simply, like, someone says or does something that's construed or perceived as wrong by their audience or their benefactors, well, more so their audience, they're done. Like, no more follows, they get unfollowed, they get blocked, whatever. This is mainly prevalent on social media. Like, people who are Instagram stars are going to be affected by it a lot more heavily than, say, an actor. At least that's how they put it in the article, though we've all seen celebrities go way downhill because of the social environment and things they've done. Outrage and call-out culture was summarized very well already. Basically, like, just calling shit out. So, it's kind of like levels to this shit sort of deal. If someone does something messed up or perceivably messed up, they get called out or they get canceled. So that's basically exposed. You know what, Freddie?
And usually people have receipts and they tweet it out.
It is the internet, shit. Freddie, you bring up you bring up a really interesting point there. The exposure aspect of it, because there are things like, for instance, well, I'm afraid to say names on Twitch, even though they're banned now. Like that one dude who was very popular on Twitter for a little bit, got a lot of followers, and then all of a sudden it came out there was Discord conversations. Private ones.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
That he was like abusive into some, not just into some freaky shit, but he was abusive on top of it and manipulative, or at least that's how the story was made out to be. It's how what was taken in that, and it goes back to what Deadlift was saying. For me, when I saw that all play out, like, yes, he seemed like a fucked up individual. It seemed like he did some messed up things, but you gotta consider things like things can be taken out of context. All right, I'm going on a tangent. Team Freddy, please continue with what you're saying.
And at the time that I was going to comment on, at the time that this was all released about this streamer, it was also very suspect, because it was right when he had applied for partner, but they had known this information for months about him being an abusive person, but they waited until right before he decided to apply for Twitch partner. They waited, and then they exposed him. So yeah, it's a lot of things. Like the timing of it all is very suspect. But people do that, and that's what it's kind of came to now with cancel culture, is that people will hold on to things and they will wait for a moment to strike. Like maybe if you're becoming more popular, or maybe they see that your channel is growing, they will put it out there just to see you get quote unquote canceled. And that's what it's came to now. And it's just like, it's gross behavior sometimes. Because like Deadlift was saying, it could be like so many streamers nowadays, I think, kind of almost walk on eggshells, because they're afraid if they say one little thing wrong, there's going to be that one troll in chat that will clip it and then make it a video clip and post it all over Twitter and be like, oh, look what Team Freddy is saying. Like look what racist thing Team Freddy said or something, Yeah, because I'm really good friends with someone that got canceled, and you guys probably know who I'm talking about. She was a streamer. I mean, she's back now, but I mean, she was a victim of the whole cancel culture. No, not Cat.
We all know that.
I've seen everybody's face.
No, not Cat.
Like, what?
No. No, she's a person of color, and she was getting canceled by people of her own race. And over an opinion she had on Twitter, and she actually stopped streaming for a whole month because she had so many people were making memes of her, posting it all over Twitter. They were calling her racist. They were saying,
"Can you say what she said?"
she basically gave it. Okay, this is so crazy. The way it even started.
Shiny smile.
Okay, remember the whole controversy with Little Mermaid? They're doing a live action Little Mermaid, and they cast a African American female to be Ariel.
Oh,
and some people were losing their minds over it for some stupid reason. So basically, this streamer that I'm referring to went on Twitter and basically said, can we stop assuming that just because someone doesn't like the casting of this girl, it does not necessarily mean they're racist? Like, if it's a white person saying that they're not happy with the casting, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're racist.
I saw that. She got canceled over that?
She got...
What?
She got ripped to shreds from her own... From the black... Basically from Black Twitter.
Jesus.
They started saying that she's catering to white people. She's scared to lose her white audience.
Oh my God.
So she's saying what they want to hear. They started calling her a coon. They made memes of her wearing the MAGA hat.
Oh my.
Saying that she's a Trump supporter.
That's crazy.
I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, she stopped streaming for a month because she was so affected by it. And that's like, I'm all about, if you say something blatantly racist or blatantly homophobic, or you do something that is one of those, I do feel like you should be called out for it. Especially if it's like a pattern that people see. But when you start going after people for their opinions and trying to cancel them just because of their opinions, that's when cancel culture gets very out of hand for me. And I just don't want anything to do with it. Like, the whole thing, like, I just stayed neutral because I'm like, I'm staying out of this. But it's ridiculous how people will come together.
Yeah, it's like you said, we have to walk on eggshells.
Yeah, just because they might dislike a certain streamer, they're like waiting for the day for that streamer to say something fucked up or to do something fucked up for them to then expose them and be like, oh, I was right all along. I knew I didn't like this person for a reason, you know?
Valid insight, sir. 1 second. I'm glad Team Freddy said something, and it brings me back to the first topic. He mentioned, like, yes, obviously if someone's being blatantly this or that, blatantly bigoted, then you gotta call them out, that it's fucked up. I want some people to consider that sometimes, one person's blatant bigotry is another person's, like, not even bigotry. If Twitch has taught me anything, there's so many different cultures out there, different words for that matter. Holy shit, I just learned what biff was in the UK. I'm not getting into that right now. I'm very upset about it. I'm very upset. Yes, I think there are some...
You have to DM me that. I don't know either.
You don't want to know, it's bad.
I don't want to know what biff is.
Biff means vagina, and I still contend it's the ugliest word I've ever heard for vagina in my entire life.
You should really? Search if you haven't.
It's
not even the C word. You don't mind the C word?
I don't like it to just, like. All right, we're not getting into dirty talk references right now. No, I'm not saying it's dirtier. I'm saying it just sounds awful. When I think biff, I think a big burly dude, like from Back to the Future.
From Back to the Future, yeah.
Like, oh yeah, pound my biff. Like, no, can we not do that? Look, can we? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he's hot, but don't tell nobody. Look.
Jill, I know you're in the chat. I need you to write that down.
Don't.
Oh god, that's it.
Quote that.
It's not biff, B-I-F-F. It's B-I-F. My wife just said butt in front. B-I-F.
Wait.
Oh.
No. It's not an acronym.
What?
It's not an acronym. It's just biff.
Sure.
Oh,
it's
wait.
British
Nick Omega is saying it's not true, and he is from the UK, but I don't know.
Fair.
Okay, look, moving on. Look, here's the thing.
False information.
No, because someone from the UK told me that's what it was. I'm not naming names.
Maybe it's like a region or something.
No, custard nuts tell them. Okay, here's the thing. Like, there are certain things that, I mean, in Twitch culture, in American culture, like, you will be banned if you say shit. You will be ostracized, or you'll at least be called out. But yeah. I just do want people to try to consider that not everybody, no matter, even if it's like 8 billion people all have this agreed upon idea, one person might be out of the loop. They just might be. Sometimes I think it is worth it to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially, actually, only if they themselves are interested in hearing others out and amending their ways. No one should be actively seeking to be offensive and using their background as an excuse. That's not acceptable. But if it's an initial fuck up and they genuinely didn't know, then I would implore anybody not to cancel them. Maybe stop at the call out and then try to address it from there. Okay.
I actually could have very well been a victim of that on Slurpstream one time. Like, I was saying something as a support for gay rights with the current event was the gay pride emojis. And so I put that as well as something that I didn't really understand was a slur. And he just set me aside and discussed it with me afterward and talked to the stream about.
The interesting part about that is I myself did not know that was a slur until like a few months before that. So again, Twitch teaching me a bunch of shit. The last thing I want to do is blatantly offend people. Like, there's good ass people out in the world who just don't know better. And I think that's something we should definitely consider to try to cultivate a better atmosphere for talking about this stuff. We all get happier in the ends and wisers. Okay, anybody else on cancel culture, outrage culture, how it affects...
So with the cancel culture and everything else, and I like they talked like all of us are walking on eggshells now, but the problem with it is, man, with cancel culture, who knows what I said 10 years ago. So I posted a Facebook status 10 years ago. I put something on MySpace 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and who knows when somebody's going to come across us and be like, you know what? Look at this one time this person said something stupid. Let's get them. And
I feel like that happens every time.
That's wild.
Yeah, and as you talk about, like, that is them gaining their 10 minutes of spotlight. Like, hey, I called this out. I was big on this. Now, I'm not saying call out culture is 100% like the worst thing, because there are some times where things need to be brought to light, but we need to look at how it's being done. Why now? What is the purpose for it to be done now?
Right. Do we want to look at ProJared's recent thing?
ProJared?
ProJared.
Oh, what happened with him?
Well, supposedly...
You said the N-word?
No.
No.
Well, he might have. We don't know.
Canceled.
His wife came out on
Oh, wait, I'm
Twitter
getting him
saying
confused
that,
with somebody else. Okay.
His wife came out on Twitter saying that he had been very manipulative, very out there about his sexuality, he was cheating on her and such. And everyone was instantly against this man. He's a part of several different groups. If you've heard of Normal Boots, he's a part of that. Was a part of it, rather. He actually stepped down in order for them to not have so much more backlash than they already had. Normal Boots actually ended up taking off several videos off their YouTube lists because ProJared was in them. So as a result of this cancel culture, a lot of issues arose that a lot of people wouldn't have even really expected, like his editor and there was someone else, I can't remember exactly who it was, but they ended up resigning because of their safety. Just because people were sending threats of different calibers to everyone associated with ProJared. And ProJared, he couldn't say anything. He just recently released a video on the issue, talking about how his wife and he discussed it, releasing some texts and stuff, but he couldn't talk about it until recently because of legal reasons. So everyone was just like, okay, he's not saying anything. His only statement was that he's getting divorced with his wife, so let's just all unsub from him on YouTube and be done with it.
Well, I think you skipped a step. Like, you skipped a really big part, which was on Tumblr, allegedly. He was sending out, he was soliciting and delivering illicit pictures to minors.
Weren't they underage?
Yeah, you skipped a big part of that. Like,
the
reason that came to light.
He actually discussed that in that recent video. Was he had actually asked, like, he showed that particular text if they were above 18, and they had said yes, they were. So he had no idea that these kids were minors. I mean, that's really more of an unfortunate thing that I wish would have happened. But at the same time, I don't really fault him for that. Like, I wouldn't.
Well, no, that was just saying that was the main cause of him being called out and canceled. Was that came to light because of what was happening with his wife. And then people started digging around for more dark dirt and found that, and they went, well, we got him, put him away.
Right, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because my mind's here and there.
It happens.
If I do that during any time in this podcast, feel free to call me on it.
You want us to call you out?
Got it. Just gotta break this. So, yeah. So ultimately, his YouTube channel fell completely apart due to these instances that nobody had given him the chance to speak on. Like I said, he couldn't say anything due to the legal actions, the legal proceedings that were currently going on. So he didn't really have a choice but to sit there and take it.
I think I maybe have a question. I don't know if this is opposite or if this is far out. Do you think that, so all of us, we stream, we're in social media, we're part of groups and everything like that. Do you think that we may also experience the opposite of cancel culture, where there are times we don't say things because we're part of groups and we're like, hey, you know, we know how the groups work, and if we say something against this or this, there's a good chance the group may ostracize me? Do you think that's something that people deal with as well?
Absolutely.
Wait, so you're saying that you're positing that maybe we don't call things out because we don't want to be ostracized from the group?
Yeah. Do you think that would
Any
be
given
possibly
group.
too? Yeah.
It's personally against my moral code to do something like that, but it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
It's... okay. So, I'm not...
Let someone else speak.
I'm not the type to really do that. I am with everybody. I always try to put myself in a mind state of, like, how can this be made productive? I try hard not to play favorites, but I do try hard to, like, to make sense of everything. Sometimes I'll overanalyze things, as some people will tell you I do. It's a curse and a blessing. But I think that a huge part of this, it goes back to the idea of taking the human element out of things and looking at only generalizations pertaining to different ideologies. Like, when you're in a group with people, I'm looking at this under the lens of, like, you're closer with these people than you are with others. You know better where someone is coming from. Like, you know what their intent is. Context, that's a huge thing I wanted to mention in this stream. Context and intent are hugely important, and so often with cancel culture and outrage culture, that shit gets thrown by the wayside. Like Deadlift was saying, anything could be taken out of context. I mean, if someone is really being a piece of shit, whether I'm friends with them or not, whether I'm on a team with them or not, whether we're in the same community, I'm gonna let them know. And I'm gonna let them know I'm not okay with it, and maybe some ideas to not be such a piece of shit. And I hope someone would do the same for me, because I want to... What's up?
Just like Slurp was like, don't be a piece of shit to me.
We're human. We all fall short sometimes. Society rapidly changes. What's acceptable in 1999 is not fucking acceptable in 2019. I think we could all attest to that. And a lot of that is for the better. But a lot of it is fucking madness as pertaining to this topic. So I think Shiny Shoes, I would agree. There are probably those out there who won't call someone out either because they're playing favorites or they're afraid of being ostracized. But at the end of the day, it only really matters if you're standing up for your personal beliefs, which hopefully entail compassion and empathy and love.
Yeah.
I have a point then. I think one of the main things that concerns me about cancel culture and call-out culture is that there's a threshold, there's a line in the sand, and it's not, like you said, context matters, and it's not the ramifications or what happens because of it, it's how people perceive that intent. that draws that line in the sand. And then if you cross that line in the sand, there's no redemption for you in most cases. The more egregious people perceive your error to be, the less chance you will ever have of redeeming yourself in any aspect, at least from what I've seen.
That's very true. Redemption was supposed to be a big part of this, and with good reason.
Let me kind of throw a point in here real quick.
I was going to say, I hadn't heard from Deadlift in a while.
Crash, no, actually, now that you're right, the sad part about it is, like, people from the cancel culture actually been wrong a lot.
Yeah.
Which is actually the biggest problem. People will say, I'll give you an example, because I can't think of anything particularly right now, but let's say I said something just about my own community, just internally, just like what Freddie was saying with the whole Black Twitter thing, because Black Twitter is probably, as much as I get my laughs and my jokes from there, I try to post another stuff on my own Twitter because I'm like, that shit's too much. But the people off there are the quickest to judge, the quickest to assume something in 1 second and flip another story around to just fit an image they perceive you to be. So just like what Freddie was saying, that happens a lot. I even had a friend of mine, not a streamer, he's just like super political. We are completely different. He's actually extremely conservative. We have no similar opinion about anything, but we're just good friends and shit. And he didn't even say anything. He didn't even like the president, which is funny. But he just brought out the fact that he said something positive about one thing. Somebody turned that to him being racist and against gays and something else. He ended up being suspended on Twitter for like a month, and then he couldn't get his account back. And he was just pissed because he's like, it took me like years to get like something like 20K followers or something. To me, it doesn't really matter. But it's really as simple as, you know, we could all be really high status streamers. We could all be partner streamers or on YouTube or use other platforms. And someone could be like, Slurp, I don't like you. You know, Shiny, I don't like you. McTravDad, I don't like you. Crash. Any of us. And take one little clip from like 2015, 14, you know, where you just made one joke, take that out of context, re-chop it around. It happens a lot. And then when people from cancel culture get caught being vindictive and using basically infallible evidence, nobody remembers that. They just remember the part where it was bad information. So somebody can make up something about you, and that stays. Just like in real life. Seriously, somebody in real life could do the same thing. They'll say something bad about you, and then it carries for years until it eventually dies out, but you still have the stigma of you being someone else that you're completely not. But that's what happens in cancel culture a lot. I just wanted to add that to what you were saying, Crash.
Yeah, I understand. I'm terrified to ever, like, especially when I'm on Twitter, I'm terrified to write anything that could be possibly misconstrued, because I am very bad about articulating my thoughts written down. Where I'm just like, I like proofread. I've deleted hundreds of tweets where I'm like, I think that maybe this one might be pushing it as a joke. Like, the most I'll ever joke about is LGBT things, is because I have spent a lot of my time in that community too. My best friend is gay. I've got a ton of other friends that are either gay or bisexual or any type, and I've played trans. So I'm okay with joking about that with them, but I make sure not to post it on social media because I don't want people to go, there he is. There's the guy who hates the gay.
Yeah.
That's exactly, like, I assume a lot of you guys fall into the same category. We're like, I don't want to post anything about this, especially for me. I don't know a lot about a lot of different groups. Like, I haven't watched any news outlets in like 5 years. I get all of my information online, and there's so much information going around that, like, I can't understand like what to believe. I'm like, well, somebody said this and somebody said that.
It's kind of in that point now where, like, if I feel like, hey, this is going to start to be some type of Twitter drama or Facebook drama, I've gone to the point now where I just kind of move myself out of it, because I'm like, hey, you know, who knows how this conversation is going to go and what's going to come out, and what does that look like to me? Because again, I ain't out here getting 1,000 likes on a tweet. I mean, I'm lucky if someone's like, give me that one little heart button, I feel like a superstar. Mm-hmm. So just the fact that if I would do something that would be like, okay, well, there goes all of his 3 followers, they're gone now. So just me tweeting to myself again, boys.
There's I'm sorry. You continue.
No, you're good. That was pretty much it. So just I try to stay. I like to stay out of that because there's no way that I could have all the information ever. Like it doesn't happen. I can't get all the information because I'm not there.
Okay, there's this again. I feel plays into our first. It can potentially play into our first topic. The idea of losing what you've built for sharing anything, whether it's your humor or opinion on a potentially dramatic situation. I think this plays into the idea of being afraid to talk about things like politics and religion. Maybe not for you personally. Maybe when the 2020 elections roll around, you're going to be like, this politician needs to shut the fuck up. They sound like an idiot. Maybe not. But I think it is important for people to speak out more. And that's not to say, as content creators, as public figures, whatever your shtick may be, not to be mindful of your following or building your network, but I feel we are more deeply obligated to try to better the world, and we're never gonna do that if we're only focused on the superficial shit and in fear of what our true selves can do to our reputation. And it's a tricky line to tread. Like some other people have shared so far, things do need to be toned down to a degree. That's completely understandable. But at the same time, what I would very much like to see and what I try to strive for isn't so much to act differently, put on a sort of mask, but rather either I'm toning myself up or I'm toning myself down. And while that's going on, I do think it is important to not only maintain my beliefs, but to be expressive of them. I've posted political shit and other relative shit on Twitter before, and I've seen my follower count drop. I fucking synced it within like the hour it was posted. Granted, I don't have a lot of followers. It could have been a bot. I don't know. But you know what? Like, I got into Twitch thinking to myself, like, shit, at the end of the day, I could be me, I could make friends, and do what I love while maybe making some money. Awesome. Once me being me gets taken out of that equation, if I have to shut myself up to such a degree where I do not feel comfortable or I feel fearful of expressing my opinions on this sort of stuff, I'm fucked. It's not going to be fun at all for me. So I'll be accepting of other people. I want to hear your views and shit, but I won't be bullied by that kind of mentality that comes along with social media growth. And that might wind up fucking me more than I'd like, but I can't think of any other way to do it. Sorry for the rant.
No, you're good. I think a lot of times, like, too, you look at it and everybody's got a different sense of humor, and social media, it's so hard because I admittedly will say I have like a darker sense of humor. I think that sometimes when I'm like, oh, this is messed up, that sometimes things like that I will find humor in some of those. But there's so many times where I type something up and I'm like, man, this made me laugh out loud. Then I look at it and I'm like, how is this going to be interpreted by those that don't have my sense of humor? But you're right. I mean, there should be a point where I'm just like, you know what, and that's a thing, and there, just how it is. There are a lot of individuals that are not a fan of me. I get that, but I had this conversation the other day. I was limiting myself because of that. I'm like, hey, you know, I need to still be nice and everything like that. But what it's coming down to realize, like, those individuals, if they don't like me, okay, that's a point we're going to be in my life. They can choose to do that. They can choose to not like me. If someone doesn't like me because I said something that I thought was funny and they didn't think it was funny, that's something I'm going to have to deal with and just go on, because I can't spend the rest of my life censoring myself because of that. And that's a lot of it plays into this cancel culture. If I'm always censoring myself,
who are you?
What are people getting?
Congratulations, you canceled yourself.
Hey.
Those are rare.
You're not alone, man. You're not alone with that shit, even outside of the humor. All right, anybody else on that?
I have been copying several different chats that have wanted to discuss different topics. If you'd like me to go over those real quick.
Oh, not right this second, but I'm glad you did that. We definitely will get
sure,
to those.
Sure.
I appreciate that. I probably should have been doing that. Don't tell anybody. What's it called? Fuck, now my train of thought's broken. No. Okay, art, comedy, and society. So, Shiny Shoes and I had a little back and forth there. I think that kind of touched upon the end crash, everyone, mostly, the content creation bit. What about, like, things like comedy? I mean, I'm sure most people here have seen Dave Chappelle's new stand-up special.
Nope.
That ruffled some feathers. No? Who else didn't see it here?
I didn't get to see
I
it
have
either.
not.
I did not see it because of nothing like that. I just haven't had time.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm curious to see it, but I've just heard a lot of things, and apparently
I saw something in the chat on Dave Chappelle, and that was
he's pissed off the LGBT and the trans community. So I'm curious to see what he said.
I will kind of just say what he's. I mean, he basically referred to anybody that's from the LGBT community as a number instead of a thing because it's controversy. And if you're a comedian and you're making jokes for everybody like you always would do, the more controversy, the better. So he's like, instead of not talking about it, now I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to call you guys numbers and letters. And he did the same thing. He's funny. He did the same thing with other races too and called them other stuff and flipped it around. Dave Chappelle will always tell a joke about one group, then the next group, then the next group. He talks shit about everybody. But it's funny. Either you like it or you won't. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's a valid summation of it. I'll say... Wow.
It was literally, actually, let me to cut you off. It was literally an entire set talking shit about the PC culture. Not even joking.
Yeah.
Like an hour of saying fuck PC culture.
See, the thing is, and the thing why I think Chappelle's like the greatest comedian I know of. I like it because he would have mean jokes, like he would fuck with everyone. But this special, I feel, is, like, mean-spirited. I'm glad that he did call out PC culture, call out culture, all that shit. Because, again, as we discussed here, it has its place, but often it gets taken way too far. So it does need to be checked, and a fucking powerhouse like Chappelle is a man to do it. I don't think he went about it in the best way. Still a big fan of Chappelle, depending on how serious he was with his jokes, if that makes sense. And that's the thing. When you hit different levels of star power, and when you're in different fields, like, how much does outrage culture affect you? How much does cancel culture affect you? Do we really care so much about ideas? Or like Team Freddy was saying, are we more concerned with taking individual people down and being vindictive? It's a tricky line to tread. And I mean,
it's fucked up. But I mean, if you made $30 million calling me the N-word, not even joking. I mean, people's integrity is kind of put in place when you. I'm just saying, it is what it is.
But
I would take that.
It's
messed up and it's wrong. I'm just saying, I would not take it.
But what if they gave you $15 million out of the 30? I'm just saying, there's.
Well, I'd be more offended by that.
Right.
Because I wouldn't have asked for it.
I would. Shit.
That's crazy.
I think that, like, when you look at it as just comedy as general, if you look at some of the older stand-ups and stuff like that, they were saying the same things, except for they were talking more about stuff that was relevant during their time, but it was still the same, like, same comedy. Like, look at Richard Pryor, even Robin Williams. If you've ever seen his actual stand-ups, like, he says some crazy things in his actual stand-ups. Yeah. So there's a lot to it. Just now, we have kind of, and I don't know, maybe hit a point in society, or just we have so many more people as a society are connected now that when people say something crazy, like,
yeah, I think, you bring up a good point, Shiny Shoes, because I think it's with the times, and with everybody having social media and clipping everything and filming everything, I think some comedians have actually toned it down. Like, my favorite comedian is Sarah Silverman. I feel like she's really toned it down a lot. Like, and that's actually the reason why I loved her, was because she was not afraid. Like, I used to say that well, I still do think it, but I think Sarah Silverman is the only one that can actually pull off a rape joke. Like, she has a really good rape joke. And then she would also like tell jokes about pedophilia and stuff like that. But it's like, now, if she was to do her old stand-up now, like, she would be crushed. Like, they would just rip her apart.
You can't do pedophilia jokes?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't.
Wait.
Depends on
But she's.
We're not worried about offending
like, in a way-
pedophiles, though,
in a
right?
way, I
That's
get
not
where
why.
she's coming from, but I'm also pointed in the fact that she's toned it down a lot, because now I feel like she feels like she has to be more family friendly now, to get an audience. And it's like, okay, are you doing this because you want like an audience and you're scared to lose some of your fans, or are you doing this because like you feel maybe you've grown as a person, so you have to change with the times? I don't know.
That's an interesting point. I do think a lot of people will try to go where the money takes them. I could be wrong in that. There are some people out there who, you know what? I can't even say if Chappelle doesn't give a fuck or if he wanted $30 million fucking dollars. So like, I don't know. Everyone has their own motives. You brought up some good ass points though. Anybody else? Crash, you're looking pensive.
I was actually thinking that I think it's awesome that comedians will push the envelope. They'll challenge ideas. They'll tell you things that are their experiences, because then it becomes a community, like a shared experience. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, I never thought of it that way. The point is when you take it too far. I don't know if any of you guys like listen to comedians off of their shoots. Like, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan, which is like Oprah for dudes, and he talks about all the time that, you know, he tries a lot of his stuff in smaller venues before he takes it onto the big stage. So if people are getting toned down, that could be an effect of that, where they're hitting those smaller venues and people are like, hey, you can't say that. And then go to the big venues like, well, I'm not going to say that because not enough people laughed.
Yeah.
Well,
but I think that no, go ahead.
Not enough people laughed, or too many people were offended?
Well, I don't think if too many. I think it's not enough people laughed. Really, like
Fair.
Maybe the culture of like humor is even changing. I'm not sure. I can't comment on that, but it makes more sense than if people are toning it down. Maybe they're getting more pressure from higher ups, or their stuff's just not landing the same, just because people are more sensitive, which is.
And honestly, like, you look at too, different audiences, different jokes are gonna land different ways. Just here, like if somebody said something funny here, every one of us might find that a differing degree of funny. And like where we live, Crash, something that some of the people around us might find funny, you go out to like LA and stuff like that isn't funny there. So just nonsense. So you never know.
I'm funny everywhere, so like,
all right,
I don't have that problem.
That's fair.
You
Don't
sure about
do
that?
I'm positive.
All right.
What?
I was about to say, well, that's very true. I've lived in 3 different, very, I want to say, hick-infested areas, and there are moments where they'll tell jokes, and I'm just like, oh, you definitely just said that. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay.
Me and Crash live in proximity of each other in the United States, and he called it hick country. I call it yeehaw country.
Hick.
And
Same.
And he's very right. Like, some things they'll say and they'll find that funny, and you're just like, nah, man.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, especially with I've learned the guys that like telling jokes around me and to tell the not so PC jokes, they say it with such confidence, like you had to have told 40 or 50 people. Still telling you that they're all laughing at it, and that's terrifying.
Oh boy,
it's funny.
Oh god, it's. I have so many experiences to run. Well, that's the thing. Like, have these people ever met the type of people they're joking around about, whoever they may be? Have they? Do they have genuinely bad impressions of them, or were they raised and taught by their parents that these are all awful people and fuck them, let's disregard and joke about them.
Well, I don't think I want to stop that. But like, I don't think it's that they dislike or even hate whoever they're joking about. It could be a lack of experience or the fact that they think that I don't belong in either of those places. Like, if someone, I had a boss, my last boss used to make a ton of gay jokes around me, and I'd just be like, that's not funny. And then it was a lot easier to do the opposite, where he would tell anti-gay jokes, and then I would immediately tell jokes of like, I think my favorite was, he asked me what I wanted to do with my life, and I said, I want to go back to school. And he said, oh, how are you going to pay for that? And I was like, I was hoping you'd help me out later.
You said that to your boss?
Yeah, I said that to my boss.
Oh, boy.
I'm not happy.
Oh, shit.
They
Hell
deserved
yeah.
it.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that is one way to open the door. It definitely can be awkward, and I get it. Like, whether it's a group of friends, a coworker. What the fuck is that?
What was that?
Sorry, that was me.
Oh, good. A coworker, whatever. But I think, again, this plays into our first topic of being afraid to talk about this stuff. People are comfortable about joking about it because they don't know shit. I'm not going to say it's up to you, and you. But you know what? Fuck it. It is up to you. It's up to everyone in the chat. You don't have to be raging and angry all the time. But to consider the idea that as other human beings, people are deserving of learning. And that goes for myself also. Like, the last thing I want to do, Crash, we'll take you as an example. I never want to be the boss you're talking about right now. I never want to be that guy you're talking about to other people, saying this asshole was telling jokes that were bigoted or just like in awful taste. In that regard, I tell pretty tasteless jokes, but they tend to not be bigoted. I want to be the guy where like someone says, hey, this is fucked up, here's why, here's how we can do better and move forward. And I'm not putting blame on anyone here for having done that. I've been guilty of it myself for not speaking up when in retrospect I feel I should have. The point of this is to just kind of make us all, and anyone who may be watching in the future, anyone in chat now, like, be mindful of this shit. Because your heart matters, your opinions matter. You have the power to change minds and to change lives and the society as a whole because of it. With that said, I would like to move on to the chat stuff. McTravDad, you said you had some stuff. We'll get to you in a second. We have Madam Mortuary here. She mentioned a lot about the music industry.
Yeah, I got her written down a lot.
Oh, you do? Okay. You know what, McTravDad? Let's let you take it away, sir. What do you got from chat for us?
So I'm going to go from the top, and I'm sorry if I did miss anybody. I've been...
I'll scroll as well.
Here. So the first thing I'm seeing is from Ogre of Doom. He says, does boycott Blizzard count as cancel culture?
No, I think that's way past the line of being egregious.
Yeah,
and if you look at their PR statements, it's just like, no, that's a money thing. That's a company going for money.
Yeah.
I think it isn't that Blizzard's at like the height of their community, or like they just did something completely fucked up, and like it is. I don't know if it falls in cancel culture. I just thinks it falls in people like, hey, this is messed up. We probably need to look at this.
There may be people that don't actually know about this situation. It's just occurred to me. Like, do we want to explain that first?
Oh, the Blizzard thing.
Right, right.
To my knowledge, basically, someone won a League of Legends tournament? Hearthstone. Okay. During the interview, they expressed pro-Hong Kong sentiments. For those of you that don't know, there's a protest going on in Hong Kong right now because China is basically trying to absorb them into their style of government long before they're due to do so. I think according to their treaty with Britain, it's not supposed to take place for another 20 years or so. But basically they want to stay a largely democratic society, and China's pushing in on that and trying to absorb them. So this person not only spoke pro Hong Kong sentiments and anti-China ones at that, But the people who were casting knew it was going to happen, which was proven apparently by them like ducking under the desk when he said it. So everyone was the winner was stripped of his prize money for doing this by Blizzard, and everyone was suspended for what, a year at first?
A year.
And yeah, okay.
A year. Yeah.
And then they lowered it down to 6 months after the boycotting started, as well as gave the victors prize money.
Right.
So I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, there was a translation from the from what they sent over to Chinese officials, I suppose. Not real sure exactly who it was, but it was like, we're sorry for this, that they got involved in your politics, and that should not be a thing. And then there's the whole equation of the United States statement plus the Chinese government statement, or government. I'm not real sure exactly who exactly, but those two just don't add up.
And yeah. Does anyone else
So-
have... Oh.
Go ahead.
No, I was just asking if anyone has commentary on it.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
so ultimately that does necessarily stand within cancel culture, but at the same time it's for a good cause.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Right.
I think
Like it's from
No, that makes sense.
yeah, like this
Yeah.
would be like general protest more than cancel culture.
What
Yeah.
is
Okay.
cancel culture if not a protest?
Right.
Good question.
Can
I
we...
think-
What do you guys think in chat about that? Oh, Crash, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what is cancel culture if not a protest, right? I think a protest is saying that you have done something egregious and we want you to reflect on that. Whereas cancel says we want you off of the air, off of your platform, off of anywhere people can see or hear you because of your egregious statement.
And that sounds like what boycotting is.
Yeah, but I think boycotting is that there is still a chance for redemption, whereas canceling just says that you're done. I think the step hasn't been removed, but this may just be my own like definition of it, maybe.
I think so. Yeah, some protests probably would fall under that category, though.
Well, it's like say if a company did something egregious and then people started protesting it, and a company said, you know what, you're right, and they started backtracking and they changed their views from like A to the opposite of A. Like they started. Let's use Chick-fil-A since it came up as an example area. Like if Chick-fil-A said, you know what, like if Chick-fil-A got protested, they said, you know what, you're right. And they stopped all of their money towards anti-LGBT funds and started putting it into LGBT funds, like pro-LGBT funds. And then the protest ended. That's what I think the point of the protest is. It's not to say Chick-fil-A needs to be stopped. It's Chick-fil-A needs to be taught a lesson.
Well,
Yeah.
how about the middle of that? Change its ways. Change its goddamn ways.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of flip that for you guys. Remember when I said before about Dave Chappelle, and no matter how much what he was saying, the money is what spoke more than anything else? Chick-fil-A makes millions. So unless you make millions of dollars, your voice doesn't mean anything. You need millions of dollars to support your voice. Money involves that too. Like you can't just cancel people unless somebody rich basically had to be behind the whole cancel culture concept when it comes to bigger situations. So if you want Chick-fil-A to stop doing the same thing, other companies or somebody else with the right money and backing needs to be like, hey.
I'm so glad he said that, Deadlift.
Yeah.
order to cancel, you have to bankrupt them.
A huge part of what I thought about covering on this stream was the nanny state versus statelessness. Because what people don't seem to understand in our day and age, and I don't want to get into this too much because it's going to be a huge topic for future episodes, but I will say that we have come to rely on things like companies, government institutions to be our voices. We need to realize that together we do have power. We have trillions of dollars, quadrillions if you consider the global population, maybe still just trillions, but still the point being, like, companies backing them or not, or pulling out or not, like, if we all got together, the people, and stopped supporting these assholes, or even better, putting our money together and supporting good fucking people and good businesses, then this would be a non-issue. We wouldn't need the government stepping in. We wouldn't need big business stepping in. We could do it ourselves.
Coordinating it.
That's very true. People.
Are you referring to money out of politics or corporations in general?
Oh,
can you rephrase that?
That's a conversation for a whole other time, I think.
Yeah, I know it is. I'm just curious what you were talking about. I could talk about that all day.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I said, are you referring to money out of politics for support, or are you referring to money out of corporations? Because it's either
both.
or from what you're saying.
Both.
Okay. All right.
For sure, both. Yeah. Okay.
To see Shiny's face, he was like, "Ooh."
Something I do want to mention, since that's kind of the whole point of the podcast here, is that when Dave Chappelle was mentioned, I don't have any idea what he said, but I do know that whatever he said that LGBT and trans people were very adamantly against, that was something Team Freddy brought up, is that he'd like to look into it. He's not just going to immediately assume that Dave Chappelle is just some asshole who was making some comment. He's actually going to look into it, see what he can take out from it.
Yeah.
And that's something I think is very, very important in the whole cancel culture idea. You got to look at the other side first as well.
Hell yeah. It goes back to what Deadlift was saying at the beginning with instant gratification.
And that's the thing with cancel culture a lot, unfortunately, is that a lot of people won't look into it. They'll just see the headline and they'll be like, oh, well, he's canceled.
Yes.
They won't actually go and find out the information for themselves. It's just they click on the clickbait and then they're like, oh, okay, they're canceled.
Fuck all that.
All right, are you ready for the next comment?
I'm ready.
Right, let's see here. Madam Mortuary, cancel culture is healthy when it's used appropriately, like calling out pedos in the music and arts industry, racists, etc., but it's toxic as hell when you throw it around for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up the whole point of this. Like, there is a time and a place for the cancel culture mentality. It's just way out of proportion with at least social media, and I guess the mainstream media too.
It's
what?
I think the only hard part about that is like once it starts, like once that cancel culture starts, and even if it is good at the beginning, it will continue and get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we, like, as it grows, a lot of times we lose sight of like why this person is actually like what's about, what's happening, and then we just get people name calling, throwing things out, and just being all kinds of nonsensical. So it always escalates, and that's the biggest problem of when it escalates. Like, you'll get in, even Twitter is the best example of it, because someone will say something, then you're 700 comments in on a thread, and people are then just name calling each other. And you're like, oh, I hate this person because of this, and it just snowballs.
I get that, but then you have instances. I like to use Team Freddy as an example. There's a lot of assholes I would not have known about at all if not for Team Freddy, and I'm grateful to him that he does shed light on these assholes. I want to take part in them losing their fucking platform, at least until they get their shit together, make an apology, change their stuff around. Like,
my thing is, like, I will call someone out, but it's usually someone that is blatantly being homophobic. My whole big thing is, like, the use of the F word. If you're on Twitch, don't be saying the F word. Don't be calling people the F word. So if so I will call them out if I have the clip. I'll post the clip because they don't need to be on Twitch.
I would concur with that. I have to stick to my old statement. 99.9% of the time, I will concur with that. But I think there is that 0.1% out there who doesn't even know it's a bad word. They exist in the world. They might be dumbasses.
Hold on.
I can't hear you, Deadlift.
That was actually a centric point in the Dave Chappelle special. There was an actual whole 10-minute segment about the F word.
Really?
Yeah, the joke was basically why can people say the N word on TV?
I saw that. I did see that.
And he knows both is wrong. He's just like, why should you be able to say either or? It doesn't matter if I was black or I was gay. You should be able to say either or. But Yeah.
That he did make a
Right.
pretty strong point there. If I recall
I drop
correctly.
F-bombs all the time, personally. I just
No,
don't feel like-
not that F-bomb. The other,
Yeah,
different
not all
F-bomb.
metaphors.
Bad F-bomb.
That-
Bad F-bomb. I was
The
a little bit quiet for a
derogatory
second.
term. Yeah. The term that's
Wow.
usually used for gay men.
Yeah, I was like
Yes.
2 self-cancels in one stream.
Then-
This is amazing.
The term that can also mean cigarettes in the UK.
There you go.
I say it all the time. I don't know what
Yeah,
the
yes,
problem
Rock,
is.
Yeah, I'll
So,
be in
so
your
the derogatory term, in case anyone else
Freddy's
is
coming for you.
wondering,
Yeah,
referring
I'm coming
to
for
gay
you.
people.
Yeah, in case anyone else was unclear.
Like I
There
said,
you go.
my mind went elsewhere there.
all good, all good.
Which also happens to be kind of the one that I used on Slipstream at one point.
The T word, if I recall correctly.
Oh, with a Y? Was it with a Y?
No, it was
Oh.
like Yu-Gi-Oh telling everyone he's about to use his trap card.
Oh,
and-
he didn't realize.
And
the slur.
look,
Okay.
like I said, again, I'm not gonna make McTravDad bear the weight of that alone because I used it myself a few months back.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was considered derogatory at that point. I was not
Yes.
immersed enough in the culture or what surrounded it. Once I figured it
Yeah,
out, amendment immediately made.
it's done. It's done.
Right, exactly.
So that should
And
be
things
the
like
point
that
is
are
to
constantly
explore and teach.
changing too.
That-
Yeah, I mean, like the word queer, like that used to be a derogatory term, but we've kind of taken it back as a society to be like now the Q in LGBTQIA stands for queer. So we've kind of taken that word back. I mean, people still use it as an insult sometimes, but you can kind of tell when they are.
Yes.
So yeah, so there's that.
That's another thing that was mentioned
But
before.
yeah, the word
I'm-
trap, yeah, that's actually a fairly new term that, you know, they've kind of decided that it's a derogatory term.
I didn't even know that was a derogatory term. That's
Yeah.
oh
Well,
shit.
at least someone learned something today. Woo!
Well, it's
That
basically,
was
yeah,
just
it's basically assuming that like every trans person is trying to like manipulate.
Yes.
Oh, I know. Without you explaining it, I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. I've heard
Yeah,
of it.
and so they don't want to be associated with that because it's like, okay, like I'm sure there are some trans people that do that, but you know, the majority, you know, it doesn't even have to, you know.
You'll know.
Right, exactly.
That's the funny thing too with some of this shit. Sometimes all it takes is like, hey, that's not cool, and then you reflect on it a bit, and you're like, wow, that really isn't cool. But other times, an
Yeah.
explanation is warranted. So I'm glad again that we could have discussions like this and grow from them. And I forgot where we were going with all of this at first before what happened. And no.
Okay, so
Okay.
next, also from Madam, to explain a little, calling people out for their wrongdoings and being out of line or gross, etc. is what it's for, but canceling someone because they don't share the same mindset or bump the same music you do is baloney.
I don't understand that.
Basically, I think she's trying to get across the point that I think we already talked about this, that canceling someone for not sharing your opinion is wrong. But canceling for someone for a communal moral value being actively gone against by this person would be the appropriate time to use it.
I'm sorry, but that last part one more time.
So she says canceling someone because they don't share the same mindset
Got
or
that.
bump the same music you do is just baloney.
I think we can.
Oh, about music. Okay.
So that was just an example that she used. She even put that for these.
okay.
That's just an example.
Well, it goes
So-
into what Shiny said, like,
Let me go ahead and look at that.
What?
Let me see.
Well-
There was a music thing here. Unless you've got it copied.
I don't. I was just gonna say, like Shiny said, people are very quick, like, oh, if you disagree with me, then you hate me and you love everything that person's about.
Yeah.
Like that, it's ridiculous. We make a lot of presumptions for the sake of another good point Deadlift brought up of instant gratification. We want to be right, and we want to be right the fuck now, and it's insanity. Because we're only right, at least in my opinion, if we're all growing and improving. At the end of the day. Anyone else?
That's good.
Alright, I'm just kind of going down the list here. Like, if we've already talked about it, feel free to tell me to go on to the next one.
Fair enough.
Okay.
JG Wentworth, damn it.
8 cents in the cash now.
Madam Mortuary also says, I have a big issue with confrontation, and when I'm in groups, I tend to try and be liked. But if someone says something out of line, although it makes me feel sick and nervous, I always say something. And then she also said, see something, do something.
I think that was in response to when we were talking about if the group you're a part of.
Like, actively speaking out against this
was.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to tackle that?
I think time and place is important. I think that if you want to, like, getting angry, I think is the worst thing you can do when you're trying to educate someone. Your points are going to get misconstrued. You're going to start missing information. If you want to tell or teach someone something, you have to give them the same respect that you think you deserve. I would say sitting down with them or giving it time and energy and effort to go, hey, what you just said is wrong, or at least in my opinion is wrong, and maybe a little derogatory. If you could, like, think of it this way, if you could try thinking of it trying to think of it in a different way is much more effective than, like, essentially going in a group setting going, hey, don't say that.
Right.
Oh,
A DM can go a long way.
yes. Yes, I'm glad you guys said
like,
that.
I wouldn't be here if Slurp just absolutely dismissed what I'd said, so.
Right.
I hate when people do that. I'm glad you guys brought that up because that's a huge thing. The time and place idea, that's what's going to separate people who want glory and praise and people who really want to build connections and better the world. I feel that the people who want to do the latter are going to set time aside to sit people down and say, like, hey, this is what is going on. And we have too many people doing the exact opposite. And sometimes it is warranted. 2019 is a confusing fucking year. I'm not going to lie. Like, there's rarely a straight, direct path to take to fucking humanity's victory. But being a bit more mindful would go a long way.
True.
No, that's the thing. I think people get anxious a lot of the time because they give way too much of a fuck what other people think. And I'm guilty of that. We talked about it in this fucking podcast, like, with the whole tweeting issues, and just social media in general. But, I mean, that's human. We're social animals. But that's what we have to understand. We are all equal. We all desire love and companionship. No one's better, no one's worse. Like, it's fine to be anxious as long as at the end of the day we can realize that we have a lot of common ground. Alright, that's all.
That's good.
Alright, I'm going to give you this next one, and I really have to use the restroom, so I'll go ahead and post the next one in chat just in case I'm not back just in time. So, Madam Mortuary also says, can you guys discuss how cancel culture is affecting the music industry, both past and present, and how it's affected music that predates cancel culture itself?
I could kind of answer that one, but in an interesting way. What is her name? I think her name is Chrisette Michelle. When Donald Trump became president, he was inaugurated, and she's not really big in the R&B side of music, but her name got out there just from doing it. And what was it she got? Like $800,000, or she was going to get like $800,000 to do it. She never did it. And regardless, the whole side of, like, black side of Twitter chastised her, called her a coon, destroyed her career. She didn't even perform in the inauguration, but she still had a destroyed career completely. Didn't get any money from it. She might as well perform. I don't understand why she didn't perform anyway. But it happens a lot. Somebody brought up R. Kelly in the chat. Somebody brought up R. Kelly in the chat like 20 times. I don't know if they were trolling or not, but he's not fitting the cancer culture side of things. He's had some stuff going on for 20 years, so we're not gonna do that with R. Kelly.
It's about time to cancel that man anyway.
Yeah, that's something that's been going on since I was like a kid, and everybody knew about it, and nobody said anything or done anything. But there are the good sides and the bad sides. I just can't really think of any good situations in music where that's happened. Or I could say this: R. Kelly should have been locked up. That's the only one I can think of right now off my head. Well, thank God he's finally in jail. That's all I can say.
Yo,
most of the time though, it is basically one comment, like anything that me or you or anyone would have said, taking out of context and turned into something else. But who was cutting me?
Oh, that was me.
Okay, go ahead.
Music, I want to say, especially hip hop, has really not aged well. And at
DMX.
least in oh boy,
Yeah,
DMX, not Eminem either. Not a lot of artists like.
Well, the only thing I can think about when it comes to music is, like Dr. Luke and Kesha thing.
Was the molestation?
Well, no, he allegedly raped her and sexually harassed her.
I forgot about that.
So a lot of people stopped working with him, but now it's gotten to the point where if you're a musical artist and you continue to work with this Dr. Luke, then everybody is trying to cancel you. Because I know Kim Petras, she's a trans singer. She still continues to work with Dr. Luke, and she hasn't really said why she continues to work with him, knowing what she knows. And so people are out to, kind of cancel her in a way because she's continuing to work with this person.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. It's hard because it's like, I like her as a musical artist. I actually listen to her music. And I think she's really talented. But, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And maybe she knows stuff that we don't. I don't know. But I'm not saying I don't believe Kesha. I definitely believe Kesha in this situation.
That's solidarity is a big thing, and that plays into cancel culture quite a bit. I didn't really consider that. People do want to back the right people. They have a desire to show solidarity. Some for more unsavory reasons than other. Again, the brownie point system. But Team Freddy, and I mean anyone else in chat, I don't want to single any one of you out. Like, I want to know, how can you reconcile something like that? Like, if you believe that someone wronged another person to an extent that you yourself would not be comfortable with at all, having it been done to you or you doing it to another, like, still supporting that person, how does that work for you guys? Can it happen? Can it be reconciled? Can you separate things like that? Can you listen to Michael Jackson believing he's a pedophile?
Like Madame Mortuary said, it could be a contract thing. Like, she could be forced to work with him, and she just couldn't get out of her contract.
This is true.
And that's why she's choosing not to really say anything about it. Because she has been kind of quiet on the subject. People will ask her, like, why do you continue to work with Dr. Luke? And she just won't say anything. She just won't comment on it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of comfortable still supporting her, because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and it could be just a whole business thing, and maybe she's just trying to push out as many albums as she can so that she can stop working with him. Like, maybe it was like a contractual thing. We don't know these things,
Yeah, I mean, as it sounds, that's a red flag in my book, but if it's gonna put her on the streets, if she does speak on it, then I don't know. There's definitely more information that's needed.
Yeah, because there could be that. Yeah, exactly.
She could get sued for every penny she's worth if she says anything. Like, I don't know. But, I mean, how much are souls worth?
You brought up Michael Jackson. But also, too, there's Chris Brown, too. Like, I don't support Chris Brown anymore, but I know that he has slowly somewhat made a comeback, I guess you could say, and people...
Morally or musically?
I
Both.
doubt he's.
Both.
Both.
He's become
Because
a
people
better
are starting to
person.
like come around on him, and I'm like, okay, like hey, if you want to come around on him, that's fine. But me personally, I will never ever.
Like, do you think though that he has changed as a person? Like, truthfully, because I mean,
No, I don't personally.
yeah, same.
No, no.
Oh,
I
true.
mean, they showed
one-
some of the stuff that he's been doing on tour, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
What has he been doing on tour?
Been pulling women up on stage and basically
Punching
having
them in
his
the
way
face.
with them on stage.
He's been fucking
No,
them on
but-
stage.
I mean, pretty much, almost,
Oh, boy.
yeah. And he's very violent with it too, like when he's doing it.
The violence is what gets me. Look, like if I can't do it. I can't. I had to. Damn it! I still have to remove my R. Kelly sound effect. Fuck! I'm so upset about that.
No.
I can't be having
There's
an
actually
R.
something
Kelly
just-
sound effect.
There's actually something just Boo said
No, you cannot.
that really I've been thinking about personally. Like I believe that. Why are we attaching the artist to the music in the first place? It's like pinning an actor to the character. It's like just because
That's
someone
true, too.
Not true.
someone does something bad doesn't mean their music is
Not.
terrible.
I disagree with that.
Go ahead.
And I will say, as a musician, as an artist of many stripes, not exceptionally excellent at any of them, but I feel like when I make art, I'm putting my soul into that shit. Like,
That's
and
true. Yeah.
that's a lot different than a script writer writing out a character and then me just portraying that character. Then I could either fall in love with the actor or I could fall in love with the character, maybe even both. But when it comes to music and stuff like that, I don't want to give them my support. I don't want to say that I enjoy the spirit that births this art. I can't reconcile it personally. I guess I won't scold anyone who does, but at the same time, if you're like, oh fuck, I love R. Kelly's music, I'm gonna donate $10 million to the dude because he's awesome. Like, then I'll be like kind of upset
Yeah.
with you. If you're just like
Right.
listening to an album or something, that's a little different. Not my cup of tea though. What do you guys think?
So I think I'd agree.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think so. You see the Boos talking about like pop singers. I think there is a difference in the genres of music because, like, a lot of people outside of like that pop culture are writing their own stuff more frequently than the people that are in the just pop songs and stuff like that. So I kind of see what he was saying there on that part of it. Like, hey, you know, this is their songs, but again, if you're gonna get up there and you're gonna sing it, that I couldn't tell you who wrote a lot of the pop songs I listen to, but I can tell you that Katy Perry sings the Fireworks song, so I can tell you that, but I can tell you who wrote it.
That's fair. I mean, yeah. That let's come up with a weird hypothetical. Like if Hitler wrote Fireworks but Gandhi performed it, is it okay to listen to? There's
I mean, Gandhi wasn't.
Oh boy.
Gandhi wasn't 100% like the most. You know, Gandhi did some egregious stuff too. Gandhi was a little pervy. That's my point.
Didn't he
It's like-
sleep with women like naked but never touch them or something? Or
Yeah,
never like
he-
do sexual stuff? Well,
It was
all right.
because he was pervy. That's my point. Is that there's no like unless you're Hitler, there are multiple sides to the story. There are multiple.
Yes.
Like, you're not a one-dimensional character in a book. You're a person. You're a bad person.
I agreed. My thing.
Yeah, I heard.
Oh, go on.
No, I was gonna say I heard a quote the other day where even Mother Teresa has probably offended someone in her life.
Mother Teresa, I thought, was like known as abusive.
See, there you go. I didn't know
Okay,
that.
what?
I get all right. Look, I won't. That's something. That's one of those things I read in passing. Like you see like a Facebook article, you click it, and it's like, oh, the truth is revealed. Mother Teresa used to beat her adherents with a
mean,
fucking switch
You're gonna
or something.
expose Mother
So
Teresa.
look,
It's-
I'm not.
it's-
I'll do more research. Okay, I'm not.
It's 100% true. I met her one time, and I was like, "Hey,
She punched you in the
I
face.
hope
and
you're
it was
ready
awesome.
to catch these hands, boy." And she just got me. And it was like, "Oh, all right." She's like, "You're gonna need 10 Hail Marys after I'm done with
Oh
you,"
my
and she sent me
God.
on my way. I was like, "God."
Mother Teresa's canceled.
GG.
You saw it here first, folks. Shiny.
Right,
told you
she's
to be.
canceled. She's violent.
Yeah, woo,
She's
got
been hiding out in
gloves.
China for the
That
past 20
violent
years.
Mother Teresa.
All I'm saying is her hands are like bricks.
Slapping people left
Oh,
and right.
Here's the thing. Here's how I'll break it down. Michael Jackson and Chick-fil-A, I'm not convinced 100% either way, but there's too much sketchy shit going on for me to support them. With R. Kelly, he's been proven and convicted as, like, what, a multiple-time rapist and abuser? Something like that?
Like 20 court cases in 20 years
Oh.
of people saying it's not true, but in video footage.
There-
Video footage.
Wait, there's 20 years worth of people saying it's not true?
No, 20 years of people saying that it is, and they're
Oh.
lying about music, and there's like 3 sex tapes.
Okay.
So,
I have enough evidence there to say
yeah.
R. Kelly, no, I'm sorry. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
You've lost Slurp-a-Glurp support, sir. On this day.
So to recap, say I wanted to listen to R. Kelly song, and you didn't. So what would your stance be on not listening to that?
What do you mean?
Yeah, what?
I mean, I'll flip that for you guys right
Like-
now. I separate the artists from what they do. So if I like your work, I'm still going to listen to it or absorb
Yeah,
your
that's the
work.
way
But
I
I don't support you
That's-
like in any other way.
It's
Like, I'm not
fair.
going to buy your work or spend money on you if I don't support you in that context, but I can enjoy your work and separate the two. The hard part about that is it depends. There's certain things I just can't separate the two at all.
So
But I
you
can
do
understand what
have
you
the
did.
line. Wait, okay. Does that line for you hinge on the severity of their deeds or the relativity of their music to their personage?
I think it depends. I mean, let's be honest. Like, if your favorite artist, TV star, or somebody that's popular in media that you've liked or enjoyed for 30-something years, and then you're told you have to stop absorbing that information, for some people that's impossible. Like, you can say that, but most people are bullshitting. They're gonna still listen to the same music. They're gonna still watch the same television. Like Harvey Weinstein. Let me give you guys an example. He owns almost like 70% of movies you guys have enjoyed. So you understand, for you to not support women, you'd have to not watch any product from Harvey Weinstein, who would basically control Hollywood for like 40 years.
Oh,
That's
boy.
almost every movie that everyone is fucking. Sometimes it's impossible. That's also my other point.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
That anyone ever see The Good Place? I highly recommend it. You'll
Yeah.
you'll
My wife's
remember
been
this
watching-
conversation when
My
you
wife's
watch
been
it.
watching that nonstop.
Watch
Oh,
that.
is it a TV series?
It's good.
It's on Netflix, and that what Deadlift said kind of plays into that. It's pretty funny. But yeah, you're right, man. We can't
The
shut
TV
the
series,
world
Netflix,
down.
The Good Place.
Yes,
It's a good place. Yeah, it's with Kristen Bell and Ted Danson.
the good peeps.
Ooh.
They're in their last season. It
Oh,
airs on
shit.
NBC, but then it's also on Netflix.
I didn't know it was on NBC.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm upset. I felt all exclusive.
You can watch it the day after on Hulu,
Hulu.
which is what I do.
Hey,
Okay, you got any others, McTravDad?
This one, I'm not real sure if we want to really go over too much. Just let me know if I need to skip that. My issue is keeping my emotions in check. This was Scream by Darling, by the way. My issue is keeping my emotions in check when I confront folks. When I get upset, my body lets me down, and I end up tearing up, which makes me feel like I wouldn't be taken seriously. My anger turns into tears, or I stumble on my words, which makes me even more upset at myself.
Was that Scream?
Yes.
Okay, it sounds
Yeah.
like Scream.
I actually responded to that in chat. I went through the same shit. If emotions run high enough, I will. I don't want to focus too much on like emotional aspects of being at this juncture, but I mean, I'll say that it does play into the idea of us being anxious, stemming from the feeling that we can't talk to one another without being severely judged all the time by each other over the littlest things. Call out culture, cancel culture, fear of talking about the important issues, and it's sad and it's scary, as I've now said for the 4th time. Anybody else on that?
No, that's about right. I'd agree.
Yeah, it seems like something short and sweet. So,
Fair enough.
all right. Can we also discuss how cancel culture varies in different communities and how it went from calling out people who need to be called out to pure gatekeeping?
Yeah.
Gatekeeping through cancel culture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to take
okay,
that, go for it.
I'll bring an example. When there was the whole controversy with people using the LGBTQIA tag, there was
On
a bunch
Twitch?
of controversy about yes.
Okay.
If you consider, there was controversy with people who consider themselves allies using it, or people that were straight using the tag. There was a big controversy, but I personally stayed out of it because, like, who am I to gatekeep who uses the tag and who can use the tag and who cannot use the tag? Like, yeah, I'm a part of the LGBT community, but I'm not going to gatekeep for them. Because it was basically another gay guy saying, like, you shouldn't use it if you're straight or if you're an ally.
I remember that.
I was like, I'm not going to speak for the whole LGBT community, so I'm just going to stay out of this.
But if so many people decide not to speak for that community, then no one's speaking for that community. You could, to me, your input's always valuable with that community or otherwise, and I hope you feel the same about that, about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I personally don't care if you use it, so because I feel like telling someone if they can or cannot is a gatekeeping, you know.
Yeah.
Do you feel? But okay, so here's the thing. I don't know about you. One of the biggest things for me is being misrepresented. I know I'd feel like there's a lot of fucked up shit I say and do, as you guys see on my streams and stuff. I'll own that shit, or I'll try to own that shit. But don't put words in my mouth and shit. Don't put other people's actions and words on me. Of course, reactivity is a thing. We'll get into that another time. Basically, what I'm getting at is, would you feel more slighted, Team Freddy, if a quote-unquote ally misrepresented the community using that tag than if an LGBTQ person did? Because I think that might have been the big worry. Unless you think it was more of a poser issue.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of issues that dealt with it. But yeah, my whole thing is, like, I'm probably not watching you or supporting you if I feel that you're using that tag in the wrong ways. Because obviously, I guess there were some people that were using that tag just to troll people in the LGBT community. But my whole thing is, like, I don't pay attention to people. I wouldn't even know who they are because I wouldn't watch them. The people that I do watch that use the tag are either very supportive of the community, or they talk about issues that have to do with LGBT, and they may be straight themselves, but they've shown themselves to be allies, and they've shown themselves to be a part of the community and have an audience that is in that community.
That's what's up.
I think my wife actually tried to kind of elaborate on what Scream was saying. So what about people who can't bring themselves to call people out when needed, whether it's fear of safety, anxiety, etc., something that keeps them from speaking up? Does that make them necessarily a bad person? What should they do to help themselves speak up when they see necessary?
So kind of like what Shiny Shoes was getting at.
Right.
This is just the way that I've kind of always looked at it. If you're in a situation, and there's a general answer, because this answer doesn't fit every situation because there's no way to fit it. But if you're in a situation where the individuals around you are doing wrong and you're like, I can't say anything about this, even if you can't say anything about it, is there any way you can get yourself out of the situation, or just get out of the group? And if that all becomes not possible, I understand it's hard, but there's got to be a way to move out of it and get away, because it isn't always easy speaking up when somebody's doing something incorrectly. I know that for a fact, but if it just keeps happening and you're just keep part of that, the worst thing that could happen would be, hey, you know, you are now lumped in with that, and those people are doing it correctly, and they see you with those people, and now they're like, hey, you know, you do those kinds of things well, even though you've never done it. So it's really about you trying to figure out, how can you not be a part of that? If you can't speak up from it, can you distance yourself from it to a point where maybe down the line you can be like, hey, they were doing this and I didn't really like it, so that's why I left. Does that make sense?
Getting yourself out of the situation, I kind of got lost at.
I think another thing that should definitely be hit up, if we're going to talk about this, is that you shouldn't feel responsible for everyone else. If you have the mental or emotional or physical or even monetary strength to support a cause, then support it. If you do not, do not.
100%. I've always thought, and I also watched an experimental video at one point where an older gentleman took a 15-year-old to get a Plan B at a CPS. Like, they weren't really pregnant or anything. They were just seeing what the receptionist would do. And people looked at that receptionist as evil and terrible for not really saying anything. They just kind of give them the Plan B and went on their way. You know, I don't think that being a hero is necessarily, or not being a hero is not necessarily in conjunction with being a bad person.
What?
It's
Not
Sorry, he's saying you're not evil if you don't do anything.
okay.
You're
Yeah,
not,
exactly.
like, you don't have to be a hero. And they're saying, like, people, if someone stood up to that, they would consider themselves a hero, or like there'd be some like thought process of being a hero. But they take the opposite of those people that don't do anything are evil because they're not standing up to what other people perceive as evil or wrong.
and
Oh, shiny shoes.
the power of like group or a chunk of individuals is very strong. And if you guys like, the best way to describe it, there's a video of a study they did about a man dancing in a field. There was a guy at a festival and he just started dancing in an open field kind of by the festival. And when he was doing that, a bunch of people thought he was crazy. They're like, oh, just crazy guy dancing in the field. Then someone joined him. And then another person, and then another person. And then the people that were weird were the ones that weren't dancing in the field with the man. So they did a whole psychological experiment on that, and that's just tell you, like, the power of group is insane to coax you into things that maybe necessarily you don't want to be a part of. And it's hard to be like, hey, you know, that isn't me. So you've got to be that person that sits down sometimes. You got to be the person that isn't dancing in the field.
Let's look at a different study they did. I don't know. I'm sure all of you have heard of this at one point. It's the study where someone's broke down on the side of the road, and it's on a highway, and no one stops to help them. What?
Is it the male or female thing?
No.
No?
No one stops to help them on the side of the road because everyone assumes that someone's gonna stop and help them. So my stance here, it's a little more harsh. I appreciate where you guys are coming from. I don't personally think a person who doesn't stand up in a bad situation is evil, but I do think they're too weak and that they are contributing to evil by standing by and letting it happen. And that's not me saying that the person in question's a bad person, but it is a sign that maybe they need to get stronger so they can put more good forth in the world. We have to be proactive and I guess reactive in some cases. But that being said, everybody has different strengths. Not everybody is the type to get up and go punch some dickhead in the face who's either for doing something awful. He's about to kill a baby. Don't let it happen. But then there's other strengths, like maybe you could try to mediate. Maybe you could, after the fact, provided no one's being murdered, or even if someone's murdered, be the one that lets the police and the families know who did it and what happened. Like, there's different kinds of strength, but it is not acceptable in my ideal world to sit by and do absolutely nothing out of fear. Unless, say, like, there's a lot of hypotheticals that could happen, but generally speaking, if you see someone being an asshole, do something. Even if it's after the fact. Something has to be done. That's my take on that. If you can't bring yourself to do something, take martial arts. Fucking meditate.
I was about to say, I think we were missing a point of like context here. I think context is super important. And I think that, you know, it doesn't exist in every single person to have like the will. Like for me personally, it took me a really long time to get to a point where I could do anything for anybody else. I had to focus entirely on me. I didn't have mental energy. I didn't have money to give away. I didn't have time. And I don't think that at that point I was ignoring every other problem around me. I think at that point I was trying to become a more developed person.
Focus.
I think that like, no, go ahead.
No, that's important, man. Focusing on the self, I mean, so long as one is developing into a better, stronger person to ultimately bring that into the world, which I think we do naturally. I think the happier and stronger we are, the more positivity we do bring into the world, whether it's helping someone or just doing a good deed. It's those small-minded or those weak individuals who are usually the ones lashing out anyway, or rotting away while evil shit goes down. So, I mean, focusing on yourself while pushing other problems to the side is perfectly valid. In my mind, so long as there is the intent of being good to other people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Agreed.
Next.
We'll do one more.
Oh shit, I'm not even halfway through.
Oh fuck.
Okay, let me look through here.
Fuck.
Okay, alright. We'll do three more. We'll try to make them quick.
I'll go ahead and make the passive comment just Boo said. He posts whenever he feels like it, regardless of however people take it. It's not his job or responsibility to worry about how someone takes what he said. He's not responsible for other people's emotions.
Yeah.
I thought that was a kind of cool point, at least.
Anyone want to take that on? Okay. So basically he's saying that he should not be held accountable for other people's take
reaction.
on what he said. Yeah, reaction. That is a huge thing. Personal accountability goes way underrated. People are extremely quick to take the side of the offended person. And a lot of the time, there isn't merit to that case. Plays into cancel and call-out culture again. But that does not mean that you're not personally accountable either. Like, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but like I've been trying to convey for the duration of the show, it's important that we keep our side of the street clean. If what we said had no ill intent, then yes, it's not my fault that person is offended by it, unless it is blatantly ignorant
Yeah, of
to
course, if you're
everything
just trying
going
to
on.
be a dick, well, that's going to have some consequences there.
Yes. I think I said that wrong, though. Because there's still... Like, there's the ignorant
I
people
understand.
out there who generally don't know. Okay, here's the key. It's not it's not a matter of if someone's initially offended, at least in my book. It's what happens after that. If I say something, they're offended, are they going out and telling everyone how much of a fucking dickwad I am and that I'm, like, the most insensitive, inhumane person ever? Or are they like, hey, this offends me and here's why? And then the ball's back in my court. Then I could choose to improve, I could choose to indulge them, or whatever else. So it depends. It fucking depends. What about you guys?
No. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Moving forward.
Let's see. Game Corner and Mortuary kind of had a little conversation on their own, but talking about people being able to buy their way out of the consequences. Like you mentioned about people just having so much money that canceling out just isn't really an option.
What?
Let me just read what they said.
Like, people get paid off. Like, I think that's what they're referring to, right? Like,
Yeah.
people get paid off.
How do I?
Like,
Maybe
in
it had to
terms
do
of,
with
like...
what I said earlier or something.
Maybe it has... Because didn't R. Kelly... Didn't he pay off a lot of people?
I mean, that's part of it.
I think that's the idea of what's going on here.
And then even the case of Michael Jackson, supposedly Michael Jackson paid off a bunch of people because there were supposed to be like lawsuits, but then they were dropped.
So what's the question here, though, or is it just a general comment? Like,
Yeah, I think they're just saying like, if you have the money, can you possibly like buy your way out of being canceled?
I mean, no and yes. It
Right.
depends on what it is. Depends on what it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, we already talked about that. Like Harvey Weinstein, like how would we cancel him? How?
I mean, I'll give you even a more messed up example. R. Kelly like the rumor is R. Kelly he got jail times because he's low on money. That's the rumor now. Around the same time, he was charged under the table. If you were paying attention to the news, Harvey Weinstein was actually acquitted of all his charges, even though it was proven by multiple resources, women. Uma Thurman, if you're unfamiliar with her, she specified that she didn't want to associate with him anymore. If you were Kill Bill 3, just FYI, it's probably never happening with the same company, so it might not look the same. But yeah, no, he's coasting. He's just not gonna. I think he's a billionaire too. Just to give you an idea of the difference as far as like money goes. So
Yeah.
Just Boo says, I'm not afraid to be marked an asshole because I don't care for their emotions. I'm that guy in the meme that reads, I wish it was socially acceptable to say I don't care and walk away when someone is telling you a story. I'm that guy. I straight up say, dude, I honestly don't care if I don't want to entertain it. That's not...
I know you should.
What he said before was, I don't acknowledge it. I tell them sounds like a personal problem. I don't owe anyone an explanation or apology for saying whatever it is I said. I don't agree with that, man. I mean, you're entitled to feel that way, but I don't feel that's a good way to live my life, and I don't feel it's a good way to improve the planet.
Yeah, it's not really respecting other people and their opinions as it is for
That's
them to be listening to yours.
McTravDad, that's the beauty of it. You can, and I want everyone to know this, you can disrespect someone's opinion while still respecting them as a human being. That's entirely possible and something that I think we should all be doing, unless they're completely, utterly shit humans as well. But that's personal preference. All right, one more. You guys, otherwise.
Okay, I've got 4 more down here. I've got to look through.
Uh-oh. Wait.
Okay, let's go with one with someone we haven't heard before. Gerard, he says, cancel culture is just a termination, while a protest or a boycott has room for changing old ways by showing something isn't liked.
Wait, while protest is just showing something isn't liked?
He said protest or boycott were the same thing, it looks like.
Yeah.
Both of those have room for changing old ways by showing something that isn't liked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's a fair statement.
I think that's the ultimate idea we all came to.
There's that inherent demand of change or abolition. So, yeah, they are synonymous in that sense. McTravDad, thank you very much for doing that, man. It would I did not realize how much scrolling through chat would have.
Yeah, it's going crazy. these guys are all on it.
Guys,
I've been
you're on
really
it.
proud of this.
For real. I very much appreciate everyone in chat right now. Sorry if I did not get to you. We've had a lot going on. Again, this is my first time doing this. I promise I'll improve. We're going to take notes. I'll take notes. I'll masturbate a little. All right. But where were we? To close out, before we do the outros and stuff, Magnus, I'm going to appreciate you with my mouth. Don't tell nobody. What I would like to know, in terms of everything we discussed, do you guys have anything additional you'd like to add to any of the topics, going in order? Or if you guys need a minute to think about it, we could go to a different topic. Because I don't want anyone to leave this show feeling like, man, I wish I said this. Even, like, did someone here say something that didn't jive with you didn't get a chance to talk about? Did just a topic in general come up you wanted to say more about? Anything at all? Leave nothing.
The first thing, just like about politics and stuff, religion, I really wish people would talk more openly about them. That's just the one thing that I went, like, even friends. And I think I've had conversations, and a really good friend of mine that I work with, she is a very, very devout Christian, and one day she just asked me straight up, she's like, why don't you believe in God? We had a long discussion about it, and there was no yelling, no, hey, you're wrong, you're right. Like, it was just a good conversation, and by not talking about it, you're missing out on these types of conversations. Because too often are the conversations we're having on Twitch or Twitter and stuff, like, just superficial conversations. Like, hey, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Good to see you again. Once you guys start talking about stuff like that, you can really get to know a person. That's what's going to build those relationships.
I like how you phrase that. I do really like how you phrase that. And I think it's important to bring those up, but there's also a time and a place for these things. And I'd very much go against group settings, because you don't want to end up, like, pressuring someone into feeling a certain type of way.
Oh, yeah.
Spontaneous group settings.
Right.
Like, this is okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, like Freddie said, DMs go very, very long.
This is
Yeah.
true.
Agreed.
Okay.
Anybody else want to add anything? Make a counterpoint. All right. All right.
Is it fair to say that any of us would be willing to discuss anything in our streams? Like, I've got the open discussion to politics and things, although no one really takes me up on it. Does anyone else have that?
I have that.
I do.
I did the opposite. I told my mods I shut down anything political because I'm too afraid of me messing up, not anyone else saying the wrong thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fair. It is. And
I try to.
Go ahead.
I'm not the same boat. I try to stay out of politics on stream because there aren't enough individuals that can have the conversation civilly yet. Because even if so, let's say you have 3 people that are having a great conversation about the political landscape, then you add a 4th person that can't, then the whole conversation kind of spirals out of control. So I try to stay out of that, and then political's a big one that I try to stay off of on the stream.
I understand that.
All right, so 4 out of the 6 of us, it looks like, or am I wrong?
What?
To allow the political religious discussion in chat.
Yeah, I definitely don't.
That's fair. That's fair. Teach their own.
My stream is a place to get away from all that bullshit.
See, okay, I have a gripe with that, Team Freddy, because
What?
you look, everyone comes there to get away from it. Are all of your viewers career politicians and, like, deeply immersed? Because I don't just hear this from you. I hear it from everyone. I hate hearing.
No,
about
it's just because
I never hear about this stuff. I
feel like it's all over Twitter and it's all over Facebook, and so it's just like
I never.
I was like,
away from that.
I have no choice. I mean, it all depends on who you affiliate with, what you're into, or your culture.
This is
so, like,
true.
my own culture personally, like, and I'm sure Fred can tell you the same shit. Like, it's just a constant wave of bullshit. I just don't want to cut it out because the one time I did a little panel, the first time I did it, I did a just chat thing. I was playing around with words and I just said screw. It was a little funny at first. And then somebody said, and I quote, somebody brought religion. I know religion's my one no. That's my one no I don't do. I do everything. Religion's no, usually. But I said, you know what? Fuck it today. I'm going to do religion.
On stream or in general?
On stream.
Okay.
On stream.
Gotcha.
And somebody in general, like, came on there, quoted something from the Bible, and I knew what that verse was from, and I banned them. Because it's a verse that is misconstrued as people that are black deserve to be slaves in present times. So I had to block them. So they reposted it 3. They posted it 3 times. The first time I was just like, whatever.
Hell, I'd probably done it the first time, to be honest.
Yeah, no, because I was like, again, sometimes I don't pay attention, and my mom is like, fuck, because half my moms aren't really like too religious. So like, what the fuck was that? I didn't take it seriously the first time, but like the second or third time, I was like, okay, ban it. And I laughed about it. I laugh at things that are not funny and also serious at the same time. And I also do little PSAs, like, you know, you can have your own opinion, whether it be political, religious. And I'll tell you personally, you can hate me. You can hate me for my skin. You can hate me for my opinion. I don't really care. Just I won't tolerate that in my own space. That's all. You can have your own opinion somewhere else. Freedom of speech. But you can go somewhere else with that shit.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I mean, there's just a lot. There's much better things that we could be spending streaming time talking about than that.
Right.
Like, what happens when you put a black hole in a black hole? That's shit that I would love to talk about.
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
But like,
yeah, like I
just turns to a screaming match.
Like, yes, I'm a streamer, but honestly, I'm a gamer first. So I would much rather just talk about the game that we're playing, or like talk about pop culture, because I'm really into that, rather than, you know, bringing up people's political stuff and like it. But you know, this goes to my chat though. You know, it's my stream, my chat. I'd rather just focus on the game that we're playing or pop culture rather than talk of politics.
I mean, you don't need my validation anyway. None of you do. But that's perfectly acceptable.
No, I appreciate you wanting to actually, be open and honest about it. That your situation sounds like the reverse of mine. I feel like I'm constantly bombarded with like pop culture and stuff. So like politics to me is like refreshing. I don't know, in some ways. But I hear you guys. Like, there's so much shit that goes into that. I'm worse at games. I'm already bad at games. You guys know this. I'm even worse at games when I'm streaming. Can confirm.
So having like a deep conversation about religion and politics while I'm trying to focus on something else, it's not the easiest thing. And you know me.
No.
I will stop my whole stream for 8 hours and talk to chat about whatever the fuck we're doing.
I'll tell chat to shut the boss, and we'll come back to it later.
You just got censored.
Yeah, you're right, and that's the opposite. That's the opposite of my stream. I don't want to have to stop playing the game so that we can get into like some deep discussion for 3 hours.
I hear you.
No,
and
let me get to this next boss, please.
Like, I understand.
I mean, personally, I would love to have a discussion on like religion or politics, like just a long 3-hour discussion. Like, if they want to stop me from playing the game and actually talk about these things so that my brain can be active in discussing things that are important in their lives as well as my own.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that would be just amazing to me personally.
So, I'm glad to hear that, because it seems like a lot of you aren't worried so much about being canceled or called out as you are just trying to, like, sort of fit in your own mold. And, like, whether using streaming to kick back or to actually discuss these things if you are inclined to do so. So that, I like that. That's good stuff. Alright, so last question.
Yeah, let's get on to it.
What was one thing you learned today, and or what was the best case made over the course of the discussion? We'll start.
I can go first.
All right, Team Freddy, go for it.
I learned that Slurp thinks that Biff means vagina.
It does! It does! It's not! Tell him! Look! She's in the... I'm not saying names. It does. Suck my Biff.
And then what was the best case made?
Yeah.
I mean, we all made really good cases.
I mean, I think the most important thing I learned was the Chick-fil-A thing. Like, I didn't know how much I'm behind that.
That's a big one.
Like,
yeah,
I wish
they have
I
a lot
that
of.
Before. Like, I thought that was just people like, oh, hey, you don't believe in this? Well, we're gonna boycott you. So, I feel like I should have thought, well, maybe they've got something more to this, you know?
Tangible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm one. I'll dismiss shit because of ideas too. There are levels to that shit, but there's a lot of people in the Chick-fil-A world. Not all of them are like anti-LGBT. So it could be reasonable to still eat there, but I respect McTravDad that you're taking into consideration the now tangible nature of this. That's
Right.
important.
Of course. That's what we're here for, is a discussion. And that's what I wish people would... The one thing I wish people would take on this is to have those discussions
Right.
while being open-minded about it. Open and rational. That's like something from one of my now favorite video games. It's from the Council. Just keep your mind open and rational. And that's very important in everyday life right now, especially here in 2019, going into 2020 now. Jeez, year went by.
This is true.
Like you said, it's a confusing time. Go ahead.
I think one of my things that I was actually like looking forward to when you put out the topics for this channel, I was actually looking forward to hear Freddie talk about cancel culture. More so because, well, you have a much bigger Twitter reach than a lot of us do, so you experience a lot more than that with us. So I wanted to hear, like, hey, what did he have to say about what's going on in the Twitter world? You had some good stuff to say, so
would you care to expound, Team Freddy, a bit? Share anything?
Well, yeah, my whole thing is, like I was saying before, like I mean, you can say that I participate in cancel culture, but when I do it, it's because I'm calling out Twitch streamers that are homophobic or using homophobic slurs, and knowing that what they're doing is wrong, but thinking that either A, they're above it all, or B, they're not going to get banned and they can just do whatever they want. But that's my whole thing is I don't, a lot of people get on me because they're like, oh, well, it's the internet for you. Like, you're always going to find them. But I'm one of these where it's like, if we can ban one person on Twitch that's a homophobe, then that's, in the long run, I mean, we helped remove one trash person, from the platform. And we can work on educating people on how, you have to be careful with what you say on Twitch. Like, people will bring up freedom of speech and say that their freedom of speech was impinged upon, but they don't realize that Twitch is a private platform with its own rules. So you can't just go around saying whatever the hell you want to say on Twitch without there being consequences.
True.
And I would go so far as say, like, I don't think that you necessarily 100% participate in cancel culture. I think that you are very good at sticking to your opinion and ideals.
Right.
I think that, like, you, hey, don't do this. I will call you out for doing this. And that is good in general. There has to be people that are like that. We need that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like fake people, and especially on, now that I've been streaming for almost 2 years on Twitch, there are so many fake people that will put on this persona when the camera's on, and then as soon as the camera's off, they're like a completely different person.
Amen.
Those people need to be, like, brought to task sometimes.
Look, I don't tell my customers at work, bowls. All right? I don't. I'm sorry.
You try it.
You don't?
You try it.
You don't?
I just imagine you were at work. You're like, I'm gonna fill your esophagus with your grandma's ketchup,
Right?
Like,
I think you get fired in the first week with that shit.
You're right.
Asparagus.
Like,
you know where these were earlier?
Well, he's not talking about personas. He's talking about people being assholes on one part of their life and then turning it off for a camera.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
hiding their assholeness. I mean, like I said towards the beginning of the stream, for me, it's the volume knob. Either it's me cranked up or me down a little bit. But yeah, I feel you on that. I do. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Deadlift, you got anything, Krish?
No, I got nothing.
Fair enough.
I have
Crash?
nothing.
I'm not saying inappropriate things right now. I'm doing pretty good this stream. I haven't said
don't
too
worry.
much awful
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm kind of proud of you, buddy.
Thank you.
It won't
Okay.
last long.
No, not at all.
Does anyone have anything to add about anything at all? Okay. I'm gonna let you guys go. We're almost at the 3-hour mark now. If you guys would like to stay for the outro, I mean, I'm gonna end the call, but I'll be discussing like future topics and stuff like that.
How dare you?
But guys, oh wait, fuck the outro. Duh.
Yeah,
Boy,
My
Are you
bad.
trying to cancel us?
I'm not trying to cancel. Okay. Before I bid we bid these lovely gentlemen adieu. Please go. We'll start with Crash and work our way down. Reintroduce yourself. Let us know what your channel, your brand, yourself is all about, and let us know when and where we could find you. I'll put the links in chat.
I'm CrashedStarling. Thank you very much for listening to me blather on for however long this has been. You can find me on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter. And I never really went through with like a whole brand, but I'm a very bald, eggy boy who is too awkward for his own good.
All right.
I like that. And we got Team Freddy next.
Yeah, I'm Team Freddy. I'm a Twitch variety streamer. You can find me on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays streaming. I normally play a lot of Sims 4 and Overwatch, but all this month I'm playing nothing but horror games. Since I'm calling it my Halloween extravaganza. Ooh. And I recently got addicted to Paladins, so I might try incorporating Paladins into my stream as well.
I'll play some Paladins with you.
You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram as well. My Twitter is team_Freddy5, along with my Instagram. It's the same. Team_Freddy5. But yeah, if I post a clip of someone on Twitter asking you to report them, please go watch the clip and then go report them.
I tried. The clip was already taken down when I clicked it.
It was. It was gone.
That's the power. That's the power of my community.
He does good work,
amazing.
guys. Thank you, sir. Deadlift, you are next.
All right, this is Deadly for Chips. I mostly stream platform and RPG games. I used to do powerlifting streams, but that's MIA for a while. You won't see me slamming 400 pounds of weight for a minute. But it's Deadlift for Chips on all my social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. And I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays. And if you're looking into my content, it's mostly otaku shit, mostly swole bro shit. Why are you making a face? Your face is acting.
Not you. It wasn't. Sorry, I'm being rude. I'm being a bad host. You're doing fine.
Wow.
Shiny Shoes is being a smartass though.
But anyways, yeah, just check me out.
I concur. Stop doing that. God damn it. All right. Deadlift, thank you very much. You beautiful man. McTravDad, you are next, sir.
all right. I am a variety streamer. Been into League of Legends and Minecraft lately. I'm bad at both, but you know, they're fun. They're fun. I've also been playing a lot of other games. Been just thinking about getting some other games I've been originally playing, like Pokemon Let's Go, Shiny Hunting, and stuff. I've been recently getting into more content regarding Patreon and game design. If you're interested in that kind of thing, feel free to go to my channel and ask for the Discord. Let's see here: Discord, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So many different social media. Like if I'm on there, I'm going to be McTravDad. So if you search me on there and I don't come up, then I'm not on there. Let's see. I'm also kind of thinking about a YouTube regarding like some things that people think we should have learned in school, but moreover that as providing that as an external resource. So that'll be a thing in the future. Not so near as the Patreon, because I'm starting to get that going. But once that gets rolling, YouTube will become a thing. So that said, I more overpride myself on my emotes regarding Twitch. So I'm going to throw those in the chat and let Shiny Shoes have it.
That's what's up. Thank you, sir.
Howdy y'all, I'm Shiny Shoes. I've been streaming for like a year and a half now. I started streaming because I wanted to play video games with friends, so add me. I'm Shiny Shoes pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Steam, Xbox, Epic, wherever. I love to play games with folks, so let's do that. You can find me on Twitch, where I'm pretty much playing all kinds of nonsense every single day, so yeah, get at me, hit me in the Discord. I'm always willing to have whatever kind of conversation you would like to have. I am a enabler of weird conversations also.
Was that right, Shiny? About to call you out. I'm trying to get you to play Borderlands for 2 weeks.
You were busy!
You motherfuckers. Thank you very much, Shiny Shoes. Guys, thank you so much for joining me, mans, whatever. I can't talk now. This was the first episode, so I really appreciate everyone bearing with me. McTravDad pulling through with that impromptu list making. I was thinking about getting like a designated mod to keep track of chat throughout, and I was like, none of my mods are gonna do that for me ever. But you fucking did, McTravDad, and you're the real MVP.
Oh, wow.
You're the real MVP, and I love you for it. But thank you, all of you guys, so much for bearing with me, for contributing like this. I'm going to do my best to make it even more interactive, to make the pace even better. It's a bit of a learning process. I could not ask for a better group, a more talented, eclectic, as I mentioned before, group of streamers to have this first episode with. What are you doing with your hands, Deadlift? You're making me very aroused. Okay.
Ooh.
Guys, I'm going to do a little outro by myself to address chat, maybe catch up with them a little. Then we're going to raid someone in quick succession. If you'd like to stick around, feel free. If not, I'm ending the call now. You're free to go. Thank you all very much. I love you guys.
Thanks for having us.
I will
Thanks.
You're very welcome.
Goodbye.
But how do I end a call? I don't even know how to end it. Does anyone know how to end the call?
We all have to leave. Bye.
You better leave now. It's just me. Look up.